Mic check. All right, works. Good. Oh yeah. Boom, boom. All right. Welcome all. This is Rap Raven, and this is the Black Banner broadcast. And we are about to start in 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, yeah. So welcome to the Black Banner broadcast. This is the 232nd show. And I'm your host, Brother Raven, also known as Rap Raven. And this is a broadcast that promotes the lifestyle of Black Betterment, and it's for the community. So all are welcome to come along and get involved, anyone within the community, that is. This time, an hour to 2 hours, sometimes 3, depending, is set up for you, us, our, aha. So don't forget, we promote the broadcast on Instagram, so I'll post that on there. Very poorly promoted. All right, so we're going to start the show as we start every show. And don't forget to tell a friend we're live, by the way. It's always good because this show, you get the most from it when you're actually live, when people actually listening and, you know, they have their opinions and all that good stuff. Anyway, so we start as we always start. And that is, we talk about the triple tragedies. Now, what are those? Boom, boom, boom. White supremacy, anti-black racism, and the Ma'afa. 2 very big words. Sorry, 3, I should say. 3 very big situations. And with those 3 big situations is what's caused a double dilemma. And that is we are despised and we are disorganized. And that is why we have this time we set aside for betterment, because this is a continuous challenge that Black people face. And it usually is connected to every topic we talk about. That's right. We are despised and we are disorganized. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So there's only one solution that we know, and that is Black Betterment, the single solution, which is a lifestyle of Black people continuously helping Black people. That's it in a nutshell. This broadcast promotes that lifestyle. It's a simple concept. That's make the effort to help Black people, you see. That's it. And, you know, we put it in the form of a lifestyle. So that way it doesn't really trigger any anxiety. It isn't really too hard to follow. It's just that simple, really. And we were fine and dying and all a good kind of time here to go through it. All right, cool. So we're gonna have we send the link out to people to jump in, and when we do, we just say that you while we communicate, we recommend you practice the 4D values, which are discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. And don't feel free to copy the screen and use these 4D values in your own life when you're trying to work with brothers and sisters in the community. This way you will minimize anxiety and get straight to the points, and so it's good. So don't forget to tell a friend we're live. So yes, we are using the 4D values. And try to use derogatory language if you can, unless you're doing a kind of like case study of some kind of film or show or something. Try to keep the language more descriptive if possible. It helps minimize anxiety. That's all we find here. All right, so what is 2 days, 2 nights, 2 fantastic topics? Should Black people publicly speak about Israel and Palestine? We discussed Stormzy Backlash over the McDonald's deal and Palestine support. Integration versus group integration. We look at if group integration is a more beneficial idea for Black people versus integration. Little words there. We're going to unpack those as we go along. So don't forget to tell a friend to check us out. We'll give you some perspectives, some collective perspectives, and some personal ones, just how to operate to minimize challenges and anxiety potentially. You can always let us know if it works, it doesn't work. And yeah. So before we jump into those two fantastic topics, we're gonna maybe see if there's any kind of like random videos that I've seen this week that we can just open and take a look. I've also tried to blackify many of the stuff because we were taken down a few weeks ago, so we don't know that again. So I mean, there's hardly anything here really. Hold on, what is that? Okay, we can ignore that one. What's this? Black woman? Nope. You know what? I guess there's two things from South Africa we can watch. I guess that. I wonder if these things are actually copyright themselves. That's a point. Just take. Let me stop that. All right, cool. So let's look. I saw this. Just so you know, have a listen to watch.
The Marcus Garvey Center. We are asking for the 28 days to clear the site to be rescinded immediately. We want you to sign the petition. This will not go unchallenged. We were sent a document from Nottingham City Council that marks confidential, that clearly states the plan is to clear this site, including the Marcus Garvey Center, within a year. Nothing to do with fire safety. This is our legacy, our identity, our belonging. And the community, the Nottingham Caribbean community, is angry. We call on the Got Khan. We call on the portfolio holder for the community center. And we call on the deputy head for an immediate meeting. We are demanding a meeting for clarity, for honesty. They've taken out our elders from the day center that uses the facility. They're taking away from our young people the future of this country. This is not just about a building. This is our identity. Please sign the petition. Let our voices be heard.
There you go. Save the Marcus Garvey Center. I think Nottingham that was. People around there definitely should sign that petition anyway. Definitely get together and sort that out. Just spread awareness about that. I saw that through the internet. Speaking of Marcus Garvey, it's always good to teach about Marcus Garvey. I think he's one of the most. I think him and maybe two Saint of the Shore might be two like very very important elders and ancestors that. Don't get me wrong, they get a lot of props, but I do think that we could really do a better job of really making every young person know about the work they did, as well as the surrounding supporters they had, their wives and the community and stuff. It's very important. But definitely, yeah, Marcus Garvey, definitely want to support that center there, and also remind people about the important Marcus Garvey. Very important. So let's not forget. No. That's actually, there was one other video, but because it's from like a news feed, I don't want to play it because it might get striked or something. So, it's not a good idea. I have to go check to see if the last one can actually appeal and get it back for enough. All right, so I guess we can now go into the topic because I can't play the other videos because I've hardly got any and they might be striked. Oh dear. So which ones? Okay, so let's go back to the thing before I can see what we're going to do first. What topic is, what's the easiest one? I guess, yeah, integration, that'll be an easy one. All right, I had to really blackify these and really add like flanger reverb effects on voices just to trick algorithms. I assume that's how it works. I'm not saying I'm a specialist in 007 clandestine, whatever it's called, motives to or actions to make videos play back against strikes. Let's see, shall we? What should we erase them? No, we want to go to it's quite a lot, isn't it? Who labeled these, man? I think there shouldn't have been two. So let's look at the integration versus group integration. This is what I've only got two videos or one really. Let's listen to this, and it'll be a quick rant.
Of wonder.
So this is Trevor Noah, I think his name is. If I'm getting his name slightly wrong, shame on me twice. So this is a comedian / kind of like host of a show. He's been doing really big things in the last 10 years or more or less. He's from South Africa. He identifies as a colored man over there, so that's like one parent European, one parent African, or just a light-skinned black person. For that, I don't know. I think he does have a parent or grandparents European, I think. But he was talking about integration and stuff. What was it? Is it how do you feel about well, he's in the States at the moment. He's talking to the African American community. Big up to Brother Dominic, very important contributor. Let's see what we have to say, and we'll see if we can give a Black Berman perspective on it. Let's go. Here it is.
And this applies to America, and then maybe it'll go to other places in a different way because Finland ties in. Do you think that integration was the right move? Like, and now I'm separating two things because I know in America people are like, well, of course, I mean, there was racism and there was segregation, and I go, yeah, no, I'm separating them. Let's separate someone being oppressed and someone not being able to get a job and someone not being able to get a bank loan. Let's take all of those, the negative things away, because I'll put myself out personally and say, I think whether we're talking about gifted kids who are anomalous, let's say, to the norm, whether we are talking about, and I mean anything that does not fit into a category, I think part of the reason Finland is able to do it is because, have you been to Finland?
It's very homogenous.
I've been to Finland. You know who's in Finland? Finnish people. That's it. And because they're all Finnish, there's an idea of like, no, we all head in the same direction. We all know what our actions mean. And that's a really powerful thing I've learned in communicating with other people. When I'm in a room with anyone where we start to tie together multiple things. So if I'm in a room with Black people, already there's like an implicit trust because we know what certain actions, words, and vibes mean. And then you're in a room with another African. Already. Now, even if you shout at me, I know what your shout means. The same way an Italian knows what an Italian shout means.
Yeah.
Right? I know I'm prefacing it with a lot because it's a loaded question.
Yes.
But I would love to know if you think integration was the right solution, maybe, on the other side of, what America, of civil rights.
Yeah. No, I don't. And I don't think it's actually that controversial when if you understand that segregation and integration weren't the only options. Like within those two options, it may seem like integration is the more progressive. Like, of course, we don't want segregation. But again, when you're being integrated into institutions, into a culture that's a supremacist culture, that's a culture that feeds off of hierarchy, that feeds off of insecurity, anxiety, why are we being integrated into that? And so part of it is to question what we're being invited into.
So I think that was, I actually, did I even download them? There was some rebuttals or whether it was from other people. I don't think I even bothered download them. I won't even go there. But so they were talking about, is it a good idea? This is more so America, but it happens whenever there's a kind of like melting pot of different cultures. So the UK, Canada, these kind of places. But also more so, they're talking about the law, as in because obviously in Jim Crow laws and this kind of stuff back in America, legally, Black people weren't allowed to vote or own certain kind of land or. Pretty much second-class citizens go to bars, drink water fountains, drink from the water fountain, that kind of stuff. And then obviously they try to make that integrate, But then I think Claude Anderson was talking about before. We probably have the video still there. Maybe if you can find it. Let's see if I can find it from last week because that actually correlates quite well with this one. And I can't remember if last week's show was taken off. Let's see if we got Claude Anderson. The code, nope. So last week was not that. Let's see if it was in real time. Maybe about 2003. We're going to Claude Anderson. I should really have like a folder of just one day I'll do that. I'll folder of all Claude Anderson and Francis Cress Wilson and Neely Fuller and Khalid Muhammad and Malcolm X, and I should really have that. No more basketball teams. This might correlate with it as well. Let's have this one. Hopefully.
On to the.
You know what? I'm wondering when I'm getting flagged. Is it from these kind of guys, as in like the breakfast shows? I'm just thinking about could it be? Because I still haven't sussed what's flagged, so maybe I should not play these kind of shows. Let me remove it. I have to really think. I have to blackify everything. I won't do that. So anyway, what they'll talk about was black people in America at the time that had their own bus kind of system going on, their own buses and stuff. And then they boycotted so they could ride white buses. And then when they won that boycott, they got rid of all the black buses and just integrate. And that economically didn't work for black people. And I think that's what they're saying. In that kind of integration, you're going to be a consistent serving class. You see, So that's why what we're talking about, let me actually, where is this thing? Is the concept of group integration. So the thing is, when you go and you say, you know, if they'll use to like separatists and this kind of stuff, and they'll try to tie it to some negative term, and they'll go, oh, you know, you're in the country, you want to be separatist, blah blah blah, and like they'll try to verse on you, like Europeans and you know, whether South Africa or America or England were separatists, and then when they became integrationists, whatever it was, then they said, well, how dare you try to go back? So I would say never use the term. Well, you can. It's a separatist. You can use that. It's up to you how you want to do your marketing. Whatever. But for me, I think it might be better to say group integrationists. But it's like you're happy to be in different lands and integrate and be a part of society. But you want to do it as a group. You want to make sure that you fundamentally have your community, you own assets, wealth, and you have certain networks in place. You have institutions dedicated to the betterment of your people, because you know that when you go to different lands, just by being different people, your own needs usually get looked over. So just having to make sure you've got like an intact community to thrive upon. That's the concept of a group integration. I recommend that when we start talking about integration and separatism and all that kind of stuff, I'm using the term, you'll see it in many debates, so a group integration or semi-integration, whatever word I use at the time. But yeah, I think that's like really, really homing home that the idea is to collectively own stuff, collectively work as a unit, and build institutions and ideas and community around that concept. And then so you will have Black British community, you know, and that will be Black people collectively in the UK doing what we're doing. You have African Americans, you have Black Canadians, you have to an extent also the Black community, the Zulu, Coloureds, and all those people in South Africa, whatever they're doing. But you're integrated. You're integrated, but you're integrated with society, but as a group. That might be a nice solution that we promote. So yeah, just think about that. That might be a way to have this conversation without triggering anxiety and causing people to run on a separate tangent. So that's my quick one topic we just brushed over. I'm not gonna play the other videos because they haven't been blackified, so no point. I'm playing it very safe at the moment, so the videos remain up for people to listen to. But I have blackified the other videos for the next topic, which is the main one, which is probably the more fresh news. Well, it's not really the more fresh news because the other one's more fresh, but this one, I think it's 2 weeks old or something. I can't remember. And that is, should Black people publicly speak about Israel and Palestine? We discussed Stormzy's backlash over McDonald's deal and the Palestine support. So this is an interesting one because let's slow the show down now, because it's like, you know, there's so much to unpack this. If you don't know, I mean, maybe let me play some videos to keep you up to scratch. That's the best thing to do, and give you the Black man perspective. I'm going to try to do the most correct way possible to minimize anxiety. What is it? It's 232. Where is it going? Oh, is it? So which one? Let me see which one I'm going to play. Let's see. Yeah, it got plenty of videos here. Not that one. Not that one. Ethiopia. What's that about? Oh, wait. Oh no, because it's connected to the thing. Okay, yeah, of course. Where's it? Yeah, here we go. I think it's this one. Then obviously been blackified enough.
Under fire this week for his partnership with McDonald's amid claims of hypocrisy. The 30-year-old singer unveiled his limited edition Stormzy meal last week.
Order that Stormzy.
But fans quickly piled onto him for working with a company that has appeared to support Israel, when the rapper had previously shared a pro-Palestinian message. Critics have gone so far as to plaster posters around London condemning the rapper's deal with the fast food chain. McDonald's has been boycotted by pro-Palestine campaigners after branches in Israel gave out thousands of free meals to Israeli forces and citizens following Hamas's attack in October 2023. Anger among campaigners deepened after it emerged Stormzy's collaboration with the chain came after he appeared to delete a Free Palestine post he'd shared on Instagram last year. Critics have accused him of selling out, and now stickers have appeared around McDonald's drive-thrus in the capital that read, "We regret to inform you that Stormzy has sold out. Apologies for any disappointment." The artist Darren Cullen is behind the stunt. His post has received over 20,000 likes, while his video showing the posters at different chains has racked up over 100,000 views. Pro-Palestine supporters praised Cullen's stunt, meanwhile left angry comments on Stormzy's various online profiles. The Standard has contacted the rapper's representative for comment.
I'm hoping the music isn't too, might be, who knows? Well, probably not good enough. All right, yeah. So there you go. There's a thing there, Stormzy. So much to unpack. So Stormzy is a rapper from the UK. He's actually very popular, more popular than I knew. And there was a time where he's been very social. And we're going to unpack his social awareness history. But also there was apparently a time where he made tweets about standing in solidarity with the people of Palestine. Now McDonald's approaching with some kind of deal, some kind of fries or nuggets, whatever it is. And yeah, he's what he's done. He's he's taken. Apparently, he's taken someone or him has taken down a past post about Palestine, past post Palestine. There you go. And yeah, many people are not best pleased. So we're going to unpack. What's the best way to approach? So I think what's the best way to say this? So let's go. Let's look from this way. So I think overall, this is a concept. There's so much to unpack, but people in the world are going to suffer. Many people, whether they're black, white, Asian, this side of the world, that side of the world, two combatant forces, both will have innocent people suffering, children, women, elderly, that kind of stuff, right? And I think one of the approaches I usually have personally is, it's protection and justice for the innocent, no matter who you are. You want innocence to be protected and that good stuff. And from a strategy standpoint, it's the same thing. We always going to say that, one, because it's a nice thing to say, and two, because if you go against that, whatever you represent, it will be used to dismantle what you're trying to do. So there's always a good reason to want peace and prosperity for people, all people. So no matter what you're talking about, this scenario, I would recommend you want the innocent people of that region and what's going on to always be protected and have justice. Cool. Now, that's being said, the way I would always say is like break it down into three kind of ways of things to think about before you jump in on the ship, and that is, one, how are black people treated by those groups? So you're gonna have people mistreated in all over the world. And your default is you want protection for justice and innocence, and you want to do something. But before you do that, you're thinking, well, how are black people actually treated in those, by those people, whether they're in the land or how they talk about them from us, about how they hear it, and that's important. So one is, how are black people treated by those groups? One, two, do those groups support black people in a way that can lose them? That's interesting. That can lose them their livelihood. So it's like, there is support, but then are people supported in a way where by them supporting the extent they do and the sacrifices they push forward makes them lose much about their livelihood by doing that? And we say that because this is something we observe black people losing much livelihood jumping in for other groups. So you have to ask, do these other groups have a history of doing the same for you at that level? That's important to know. Then, 3, which group should lead in protesting for injustice for other groups? So it's like, even though there's going to be many injustices from different groups around the world, in this political case, Israel and Palestine, who should, if you are rooting for Israel, if you are rooting for Palestine, or as in that justice for those victims of the many different things that's happened, who should lead that? Should black people lead that? Should black people be in the front line leading and cheering and making sure that everything goes well? Or should the ethnic groups that are affected by the challenges be in the front line leading and really putting most things at risk? That's important. So these are the 3 things. Number 1, who are black people treated by how are black people treated by these groups? Do these groups support black people in a way that can lose them their livelihood? And which group should lead in protesting for the injustice of other groups? Now, if you can remember those 3 things, it'll make making your decision just that little bit easier. So we always start by saying we want the innocence of both lands to be protected, but we're going to have to now dive into the research of the lands between the 2 people. I haven't got as much videos as I could, but I have got quite a few. So let's see, what we're going to look at first. What's this? No. So, this I'll read some of this out. So so this is in Israel. So this is I might have to read a lot of this stuff, to be honest, because it's probably in Hebrew or something, or Aramaic, or maybe both. I'm assuming. So this is Israel, and this is the black community in Israel. A murderer cop needs to be in jail. A murder. So they must talk about cop who kills. So there's Ethiopian people or black people from that region outside protesting. Looks like a violent cop needs to take off his uniform. Stop making those faces. It's disgusting.
Solomon Teka, a 19-year-old Ethiopian Israeli, was shot and killed by a police officer last summer. In March, his family and supporters showed up at the officer's trial. The officer said the shooting was an accident after he fired at the ground. He faces a maximum of 3 years in prison.
The law that you invented says it's a life sentence. So they're saying that unfortunately, a young Ethiopian brother was murdered by the police because he shot at the ground. That's the sentence for murder. How come it's 3 years? We say names of all the murder victims together. So there's obviously a list of people who've been killed in similar ways. So Abraham Damanti was murdered by the cop. Solomon Tarafi was murdered by the cop. Solomon Taka is the last victim.
Teka's death wasn't the first to rally the Ethiopian Israeli community. Over the past 5 years, 6 young Ethiopian men have been killed by cops, according to a local advocacy group, leading to huge protests across the country. None of the officers were prosecuted until now. This might sound a lot like the Black Lives Matter movement in America.
There's a Black Lives Matter sign in different languages there.
But for Ethiopian Israelis, their struggle for acceptance is complicated by both race and religion. They're facing injustice in the world's only Jewish state, even though they're also Jewish.
Once again, like I said, race trumps religion when it comes to mistreatment.
Young Ethiopian Israelis like the rapper Teddy Neguse have been at the forefront demanding change. He's best known for the song Handcuffed, which became something of an anthem for the protest movement.
I'm going to read the lyrics, but they want me docile wearing handcuffs. It's going around that. 10,000 eyes keep watching me. Keep in mind it's a different language, so I guess rap will be different.
What are some of the lyrics that you think speak the strongest to people, that resonate with them the most?
I'm the problem, I'm the majority, I'm the minority, I'm the threat, the color, and the I'm a mystery, so call that your detective. I'm the motive, so forget the search warrant. I'm sure that sounds better in Hebrew. Record it with your phone cell, put it on YouTube. Facebook, not YouTube, sorry. See, I'll try and rhyme myself. I shouldn't do that. It says Facebook. Shame on me.
The music video was based on a real-life act of police brutality. In 2015, 2 police officers were involved in the beating of an Ethiopian Israeli soldier.
Yeah, it's good. It's very terrible. I remember this as well.
Neither officer was charged.
I do remember talking about this stuff to a Jewish Israeli man in Speaker's Corner. And he was very dedicated to deny these, as well as I think he even tried to message me on social media, maybe Instagram, trying to post evidence against any kind of injustice faced by any black Israeli citizen.
The visuals are pretty strong.
Yeah, I knew that I need to bring it to the Israeli audience, for them to understand what I'm speaking about. It's me making myself as all the issues of racism and police brutality, reflect.
We're looking at the question of how should black people react or act towards Palestinian-Israeli crisis, following that rapper Stormzy was has a McDonald's brunch deal of some kind, and it sparked much debate because he was also open support of Palestine. So we're saying, like, how should black people support those areas and people? And before we do that, we're looking at how black people are treated in the areas and stuff, to help us with our analysis and maybe a greater way to react to injustice of the world.
On me.
Ethiopian Jews started coming to Israel in large numbers in the mid-1980s as part of a government push to help Jews from around the world resettle in Israel. More than 20,000 of them were airlifted out of persecution and political instability into a promise of citizenship and belonging. Teddy's family was among them.
So basically, what my mom doing now, she's making buna.
Buna.
Yeah, it's coffee. It's like a tradition when all the family sit around the table.
Like I can help her?
Yeah, you can help her. You need like to move them. You need to move them like she's doing.
The whole time?
We need it crispy but not burnt.
This is the coffee the entire family's gonna be drinking?
Yeah.
So if I mess it up,
no,
it's gonna be a problem?
Yeah. You can have a problem with a lot of people.
זה בסדר? ככה, קצת. כן.
Once in Israel, Ethiopian Jews found that they weren't always welcome. Since they lived in isolation for thousands of years, some of their traditions differed from modern Judaism.
יפה! וואו.
As an Ethiopian Jew in Israel, do you feel equal to white Jews?
We are Jewish in every sense. We don't have another country. We only have one. And that's how we feel. Even though some institutions don't want to really accept us as Jews. Yeah, the reason I haven't got there was some like main rabbi in Israel that was talking about black monkeys or something like that recently, but this is not the first time I didn't actually get that video, but I know that there is some issues with religious groups as well as secular groups. Welcome everyone. Big up people live in the place. Big up Ebbs, Dominic, and all the people live. We're talking about we're on the topic of the Stormzy. Unfortunately, Stormzy has a bit of a backlash. So we're saying, what is a Black Betterment approach to talking about the Israel and Palestine conflict? And what we're doing, we're researching how Black people are treated in both those lands. And we're starting with Israel. And we're seeing that, unfortunately, that there seems to be a similar Black Lives Matter kind of thing going on in Ethiopia. Sorry, in Israel by the Ethiopian community. But there's other Black communities as well, like the African American Israelite community that go there. I know they're going to be kicked out not too long ago, as well as maybe some like students from Sudan and other kind of places.
לא פחות מלבן, ברור שלא. ואני גם עושה
She said, well, Lessa, I'm also doing everything so I won't be different.
הכל כדי שאני לא אהיה שונה. ומי
But some will always look at me as
מסתכל תמיד יסתכל באופן לא שווה.
Is it inadequate? Like, I couldn't see it. I think it was inadequate. I couldn't see it.
This is actually my grandfather's synagogue.
Yep, Dom, he did publicly support Palestine. I think he might have removed his support as well.
Oh, this is it.
Yeah, this is it.
The
Yeah,
synagogue of your late grandfather.
yeah. It's a very special place. Yeah, it's a very special place. You're a Jew. I mean, you don't. It's not connected to your race or something or how you look like. You're just a Jew. And there's people who come here and they're non-Ethiopians and pray with the Ethiopians and my grandfather was very believing that you know you should let everybody come. You should let everybody come and pray.
Late last year, Israel's top religious authority, the Chief Rabbinic Council, formally recognized the community's Jewishness. Rabbi Shlomo Omar was a member of the council until 2013 and advocated for the change.
Ethiopian Jews moved here over 40 years ago. Why did it take so long for them to be fully recognized?
Because there are no clear certificates showing who's Jewish and who's not. There's no clear documentation. So we have to investigate. Possible that way, Chief Rabbi, who is
חיכתה שייתנו לה את העבודה לעשות אותה בצורה נכונה, בצורה מקורית ומדויקת. זה לא עלבון, זה לא...
Jews are Jews, not. God forbid that. Let's skip on this. All right, so this is, pretty much same. All right, and then people complaining. Yep, cool. Yeah, so let's quickly look to that. So that's one. So we looked at one side, and is there more? I don't know. I can't remember. There is more. There's some student ones that I won't play that. Let's see if we now look to. We had some videos from the past with the Arab side, the Palestinian. I don't have those yet, but I do have. I've got. Let's look into this. Might be not the best one.
To black people. And if you look around, it's black people that are out there advocating for the rights of Palestine.
And this one was quite a controversial woman. I think she's like some an Islamic Muslim kind of social network woman who promotes like how to keep a husband. So that's why I've seen her. But she's married to a black man as well, which is a bit of an issue to some, especially in that community. But yeah, so this is what she makes a habit of talking about mistreatment of, I guess, black people in her community, I guess.
Palestinians. This should be a lesson for Palestinians and the Arab community in general to stop being racist towards black people.
Yeah, so in the community, since the time of, you look at that thousands of years now, you look at that what they call the Saharan slave trade or the Arab slave trade, whatever. The mistreatment of black people has, it's an ongoing thing. It's not going to change anytime soon, really.
Palestinians are Arabs. Saying, have you ever heard about the Arab slave trade? Go and look it up. Go and...
So many of the black people who are actually in Palestine, the Afro-Palestinians, actually, all, if not all, many are descended from the Arab slave trade of why they were there in the first place.
Read up on the Arab slave trade and see how brutal they were to black people. See me? We're not gonna further. All me I say is, we not take no side with none of them post-sold. Make them kill off them bomb-buckler self.
So there is a neighborhood in Gaza, on the Gaza Strip, where 11,000 Afro-Palestinians live. It is called Al Abib. You know what that means? Slave. Yes. That is where black people live. And that is what the Arabics call that neighborhood. Slaves. The land of the slaves.
To understand what it's like to be black in Palestine, one must grasp, first, the historical backdrop that shapes this narrative. Being black in Palestine is a journey through intersecting histories, cultures, and struggles. It is a narrative that resonates with the echoes of the global black diaspora as individuals find themselves navigating a space where their identity intersects with the challenges of occupation, displacement, and the quest for self-determination in the heart of the Middle East. Historically, Palestine has been a melting pot of cultures, religions, and ethnicities. Against this backdrop, the black experience therein is both unique and shared. The echoes of African heritage in the region, intertwined with the...
Okay, blah, blah, blah. That's a bit, yeah. So, yeah, so that we're looking at that there. So this is looking at Palestine region. There's one more that's important. This will probably add a better... This is a bit more nuanced and less one side, I guess. I think I converted it. Just the Mark Lamont. I think because he lost his job, didn't he? I think he lost his job. There we go. Let's listen to this. So I think he's talking to an Afro-Palestinian woman. I think I did that.
Things that actually caused us to speak earlier today.
Before I give he's very pro-Palestine and he wants justice in the world. He has a history of doing stuff, and unfortunately, he's lost maybe a job or two. I think because he supports Palestine, and he's talking to a woman who identifies as an Afro-Palestinian, and she's trying to give more clarity on what happened to go. But let's have a listen just because we want to be fair and just.
It was a ceasefire. Before there was anything, was a kind of new trending.
I should say correct and just, not fair and just.
Topic in these political streets, in these Middle East streets, and it was about racism.
Yes.
I've seen this so many times.
So guys, we're looking at the storms now. We're just doing some case studying before I give you my kind of like, you know, way to approach stuff, but also a way to approach people who haven't approached it a certain way, just so we can, you know, have a bigger understanding, a better way to react to people in the community who do certain actions.
Both this tactic and this specific claim. A video is going around TikTok, and the video basically is saying that Gaza is defined by racism. That 11,000 Palestinians live in a neighborhood, a ghetto, a literal ghetto. They're forced to live there in this place called Abid, which means slave, and that Black Palestinians, Afro-Palestinians, etc., are treated as second-class citizens in
by
Gaza.
Israel, yes.
Yes.
By Israel, yes.
They say in Gaza, they say Hamas, they say non-Black Arabs are non-Black Palestinians, you know, just good old-fashioned regular Palestinians treat Afro-Palestinians and Afro-descendant Palestinians poorly. And then they also somehow connect that to what happens in Jerusalem, where they say that the African quarter there, the African people there have endured racism.
By Israel.
I love how you keep saying by Israel, because that's an important piece. So let's take a step back and first just help me.
So the sister there is saying that, yes, Black people are mistreated in Palestine, but primarily it's by Israeli people, not by the Palestinians.
Understand, or help the audience understand what actually is happening here. Are Palestinians of African descent, Afro-Palestinians, Black Palestinians, people who look like you and have your origins, are they treated poorly or wrongly in Palestine?
So I am an Afro-Palestinian. I am telling you, the propaganda that you're talking about that's circulating on social media is fake. It's not true. It's propaganda. I know now. I read about Israel basically giving a budget of $150 million to rebrand their image. I did not think that they will start with Black people. I mean, I did not think that they will start with Afro-Palestinians. These are the reality. For my entire life, I lived in a neighborhood where the Afro-Palestinian community that you, Mark, visited in East Jerusalem, that neighborhood is called Bab al-Majlis. Bab al-Majlis, the door of the Majlis, which is the Majlis, it's the community, the place where we welcome people. You know what Israel called that place? The slaves' prison. This is, we call it as Palestinians, Bab al-Majlis, they call it the slaves' prison. The Israeli IDF positioned itself outside the neighborhood. I don't know if you remember when you visited, from one end and another end. Constantly they attack my community on a regular basis. You know what they call us? And since I was a child, I heard these words, kushi, which is an equivalent to the N-word. Every day I heard this word, you know, basically.
So we're listening to the both sides of the Israel, how Black people are treated in Israel and how Black people are treated in Palestine. This woman is saying that actually it's Israelis who are mistreating Black Afro-Palestinians. Let's see here.
Not only towards me, toward my father, my family, my entire family. The other word they throw at us is Arabim, Arabs. And guess what? Very often, racist Israelis storm my neighborhood, especially during the Flag March. I don't know if you ever heard of the Flag March, where the hundreds of racist, violent Israeli Jewish settlers storm our neighborhood, protected by the
Big up Empress Christian.
IDF. And you know what they chant? Death to the Arabs, death to the Palestinians, and all kind of degrading language, especially towards women, Another thing that I think is very important, you know, my neighborhood in East Jerusalem, not only they arrested many of my friends and my family members for simply being black, but also very often they stopped my dad, who was very frail, even as he was going through his chemotherapy. And very often they will make him wait, lose his appointment at the doctor's, or drop his basically ID card on the floor in the winter because they wanted to see him on his knees. They killed our neighbor who was 19-year-old, Usama Jadde, who was actually running, not armed, nothing. He was rushing to donate blood and that was during the second intifada. But there's also something else. It's not only to Black Palestinians. They do the same thing to Ethiopians, Jewish Ethiopians. For many years, basically African refugees in Israel were called by ministers and public officials cancer, infiltrators. And then Israel had to admit publicly that they were injecting Ethiopian Jewish.
This is something very true. Ethiopian women were being injected by the state to not have children. This is a very terrible thing.
Women, without their consent and without their knowledge of Reprovera, which is to sterilize them so they could not have children. You know, the birth rate of the Jewish Ethiopian community, the Jewish Ethiopian Black community in Israel is 2%, the lowest of any other community, because for years, Israel policy was to inject these women, to sterilize these women without their consent, so they would not be Jewish Black babies. So I don't want to hear anything about how Palestinians treat Black people. Yes, there's some idiots sometimes that would say, you know, like in any society, but there's no systematic discrimination.
Well, maybe you can agree with that. I think it's widespread in Arab places that there is anti-Black racism, mistreatment, I should say, bigotry. But you know, we could say that maybe Palestinians are not the authority, so it's not going to be systemic, but it's going to be cultural. But that we're still using that as a context to ask Black people how should Black people react collectively or individually to the injustices of the world. And we always say, you know, you want protection and justice for all innocent people, but it's how do you go out doing it? And we're using MC Stormzy, or rapper Stormzy, as a kind of like case study to better approach that situation.
This I reject entirely, this whole idea that we live in ghettos, that we're discriminated against. Yes, we're discriminated, all of us, against by Israel, by a state that was called an apartheid state, by the United Nations, and by every human rights organization, and by the International Court of Justice. And
I do, I haven't been to Palestine, but many Black Afro-Palestinians are very pro-Palestine and very critical of Israel. But they do brush past the mistreatment they face. I remember we covered this on one story last week of a man who was mistreated by the Israeli authorities, as well as not feeling welcome in Palestine by his own community. And I think he went to jail a long time for trying to terrorize the Israeli state or something. I can't remember. So it was interesting that he would still go through all that, even though feeling that he wasn't really included much in Palestine. But I'm not there. I'm sure there's much amazing things going on there, but this is the testimonies that we're reading.
You know what? I wanted to come on air as a Palestinian, as an Afro-Palestinian, to specifically speak of this issue, because the thing that really upset me more than anything else, they're trying to use, again, Black Palestinians to sanitize and to basically whitewash their genocide.
That seems to be a big part of this for me. It's that at a moment where Palestinians are being killed indiscriminately in Gaza.
Yes.
And Black people, just like everybody else around the world, is saying, hey, this is wrong. It's almost as if they're saying, hey, Black people, stop worrying about us killing them because they don't like you that much.
Yes.
My thing is, even if every Palestinian in the world were racist, that still doesn't get, they're not. But even if they were the worst racists in the world, that doesn't give Israel the right to commit genocide. So it's obviously just a wedge issue. Now, the truth is, to your point, I have not experienced that. I have spent the last 10 years back and forth in your community.
This is the woman who's talking. She identifies as Afro-Palestinian. Don't know much about her, but Mark Lamont has probably worked with her before. Here's her page. She seems to be very, Israel is a problem and that kind of stuff.
In Jerusalem, and I've seen a lot of things. I've heard a lot of things, and like you, I've heard a few idiots here and there, and I've heard Arabs refer to the neighborhood as Habs al-Abid from time to time.
So he's saying that he's been there, and from time to time, he's heard, negative words thrown towards the Black Afro-Palestinian community. But once again, he seems to be kind of like, this happened.
But in general, it's referred to as the African Quarter. In general, it's referred to as Bab el-Majlis.
Bab el-Majlis.
Yeah. In general, the racism that Palestinians or that Afro-descendant Palestinians talk about, whether they live in Jerusalem or Jericho or Haifa or Akka or Gaza or anywhere, they say the racism they experience is as Palestinians. They've been racialized as Palestinians.
Yes.
And they are treated as second-class citizens, not because of their blackness, but because of their Palestinian.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. They call the neighborhood where they live by racial term. I think that they mentioned that. I can't remember what it was. Some of the Al-Babid or something. I can't remember.
In this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of tap dancing. Yeah, and that's the thing. But yeah, that's obviously people have their history and what they want. But we're trying to look at how Black Afro-Palestinians are treated and how Afro-Israelis or Ethiopian Israelis or Black Israelis are also treated. So let's go back. We'll stop this thing here. Let's go back to. So we were talking about, what the first thing you do is, protection and justice for the innocent. You should always want that. I would recommend. You just, as a humanity thing, you want people to not be mistreated. But before you really commit, you think, how are Black people treated in those groups? So what we heard is, unfortunately, like everywhere on the planet, because collectively Black people have no friends. It's very important to remember that. It's a very important statement made for the Black Bear broadcast that collectively Black people have no friends. We've been saying it for over 200 episodes now. That's very important. Don't forget that. So how are Black people treated by these groups? Not too good, unfortunately. So that's the answer there. Do these groups support Black people in a way that can lose them their livelihood? Well, I'll probably say many Palestinians have marched and supported South African part, this kind of South African. There's history of that, I think, maybe. Generally, but do Palestinians or Israel really lose, their life and limb for Black people? Not that anyone's asking them, but the answer is no. Because obviously Mark Lamont Hill, he's there, and he has actually lost his job supporting Palestine. And then the last one is, which group should lead protesting for injustice for the other group? So I think we should. It's good. There is a nice list of support groups, but maybe allowing those groups to lead and be the front face and scream the loudest on the megaphone. That would be a good approach. You see. Now, after saying that, we can segue back to Brother Stormzy. And before we really judge Brother Stormzy, very harsh, let me see if I've got any other. Maybe 70 seconds. But before we go to Stormzy, what we're gonna obviously I'm gonna find any excuse to bring in certain other topics, but this is why we say also who you date is important. We covered not too long ago that Bob Marley's son, the most popular one. Let's see his name. Ziggy Marley. Let's see what he's saying. This is Ziggy Marley. So he's married this is him a few years back getting an award. So he's married an Israeli woman, and I think he's so now a lot of his swings are geared towards Israel. So let's have a listen.
Thank you very much. I've been connected to Israel from I was a child. Through my father and my mother, we have a strong belief in the history. If you've heard of my father, you've heard of Exodus. We are strongly connected to the history of Israel. I feel a very spiritual and personal connection to that land and the people of that land. So this is an honor and a blessing, and we will continue to have that connection no matter what anybody says or does, and continue to support Israel. Ire? Ire. Oh, sorry. My wife is beautiful. Thank you very much.
This other man, he had to mention his wife being beautiful there. And I saw you should. But his wife is Israeli. Let's just let's do where is it? Just family. I think just to make sure we're correct.
Ziggy Marley, son of reggae legend Bob Marley, is celebrating 19 years of marriage to wife Orlia Guy. The couple met in 1999 and tied the knot in 2004. They have 4 children together.
I think this brother also inherited the estate of the Bob Marley
together, and Ziggy have 3 from previous relationships.
I saw his name all over the movie as well.
He was the lead singer in the family band, Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers. He is an 8-time Grammy Award winner.
Now, he did post something that got people upset. He said, free Palestine from Hamas. So I think that was him trying to sort some kind of support, I guess, but his support was saying that, he was focusing more so on Hamas, the government, or the combative team in Palestine. So a lot of people are best pleased with that, especially the fact that his father was such an influential kind of speaker for the peace from the small people of the world and stuff. So yeah, we were showing that because obviously who you marry can influence your politics, and black people seem to really jump. Once again, this concept of like how maybe he should have just kept quiet, maybe he shouldn't have said anything, maybe it wasn't his place, and him going forward, he's causing whatever. But we're going to now go to Storm. Let's see if I have any more Stormzy before I show Stormzy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at Stormzy before the Palestinian thing. So let's have a sneak peek on at that. Oh, what's this business? Before I even play it, let's read stuff. Don't put trust in, this is from Demolition Man. Don't put trust in Stormzy. Celebs not much different from white celebs. Sorry, black celebs are not much different from white celebs. Here help the communities to help liberate people who have power. And we have our own wars to focus. This from Kushti. Our own wars to focus on. The Arab man ain't gonna dictate who we support. They should leave our Stormzy. There you go. So this is Stormzy from the past. To see what stuff he was doing not too long ago. I've had to mute some of the music so we don't get flagged. Well, hopefully it's
British MC Stormzy is proof the Black Lives Matter movement knows no borders. On Friday, the rapper's Murky Brands announced in its continuing efforts to elevate, support, and amplify the issues and voices of the Black community, it will donate more than £10 million, or $12.5 million, over 10 years to causes that empower Black people in the UK. In a statement, Stormzy said, "The uncomfortable truth that our country continuously fails to recognize and admit is that Black people in the UK have been at a constant disadvantage in every aspect of life, simply due to the color of our skin."
My brothers don't die, we just Vossi Bop. So much Vossi, I'ma open up.
Vossi Bop artist who made history last year as the first British rapper to headline Glastonbury continued, "I'm lucky enough to be in the position I'm in, and I've heard people often dismiss the idea of racism existing in Britain by saying, if the country's so racist, how have you become a success? And I reject that with this. I am not the UK's shining example of what supposedly happens when a Black person works hard. There are millions of us. We are not far and few." Stormzy concluded, "We have to fight against the odds of a racist system stacked against us and designed for us to fail from before we are even born," before promising to release additional information on the pledge soon and urging others to join in. For more on this, head to billboard.com. For Billboard News, I'm Jordan Rowling.
All right, let's. So that was the pledge you did. I think his company, maybe a clever company. But where is? I think it's this one. Let's check. Consent. So 7 times Stormzy was the nice guy in the game. I'm reading on 2 screens. Sorry, performing on the artist for the Grenfell, sponsored the Grenfell charity single. So it's like Stormzy was one of the artists who featured on the Bridge Over Troubled Water. I won't play it. Charity single. For those who don't know, there was a building that had like dangerous stuff. It was made of dangerous, stuff, and I think some fire, some oven went off, or something happened, and the whole building burnt down, and so sadly some people lost their lives, and a lot of people out of housing. It was a big thing, and people dedicated. I think maybe he made a song, or he contributed to 2017. A lot of people, I think that the issue was a lot of people were actually black or at least foreigners, from Ethiopia, West Africa, India, them kind of places. He performed at a fan's funeral in December. Stormzy performed at a funeral of a fan's father being contacted by Twitter. Very nice of him. Okay, cool. He helps young writers get published. Cool. Okay, that's cool. He launched, there we go, this is more up our alley. He launched the Stormzy scholarship with the University of Cambridge. Stormzy launched a scholarship scheme which provides financial support to black students. Very important word there. We're talking about some of the new generation couldn't really say black because they're affiliated with, I guess, Arabs and Asians. So they would use other terms or they would connect more via through their religion or so. But the brother seems to tackle black students. So that gave him some brownie points or black points. It depends on what you want to say. What's this one there? What's our poster say? Big up the brother there. Excellent. Pledging 1 million. We just saw over 10 years to charities which tackle racial inequality. We saw that there. Well done. He donated 500,000 to help fund scholarships for disadvantaged students. There you go. For disadvantaged backgrounds. To the Black Heart Foundation. All right. So this brother seems to be doing his thing. Striving to increase diversity in football. Stormzy has also worked to help increase diversity in football for young people. Okay, so he wants to get more. Good. Hopefully, he can have them become more ownership, or maybe marry black women as well. That'd be good. He was awarded honorary degree for his philanthropy. So he's done a lot of, well done. There he is. So he's obviously done some stuff. So, there you go. There's the brother. We're gonna go back now. So okay, we've looked at his kind of history. So that's within the black community, right? So you can leave on that picture, I guess. It's a nice picture. Melbourne music of black origin. There you go. And that's what I'm saying. So obviously, there's how the world's going to treat the brother. The Palestinian and the Arabs and the pro people. But there's how should the black people, and so there's lessons to be learned. If you're going to, you should really think about things you post on social media because people are going to expect you to really see it through to the end. And obviously, if you post something that says "Free Palestine," it's I guess some people use it as a throwaway word because it's just something people want you to know they're saying, but actually, it means a lot to certain people, and it actually comes with something. I don't support Israel, from avocados to McDonald's to you name it, right? Whatever else is pro-Israel, that kind of stuff. But obviously, I think there was an issue where the brother might have deleted a post or that maybe caused more of an issue. But I think for us in the black community, it should be more so. Oh, we got a guest. Let me just get our guest in. Sorry. Here we go. Let's go. Welcome, brother Kel, to the Black Betterment broadcast. Well, Black Betterment.
Black Betterment, brother Raven. Black Betterment, brother.
Good to see you.
Managed to open the door and come through.
That's always
Black
good.
Betterment household, man.
It's always good to hear your opinions and your perspectives. So yeah, we're looking at Brother Stormzy and as you might know, backlash over the Palestinian pullback support in the sense of they're connecting McDonald's to Israel and saying that he supported Palestine. And this, what we're doing is we're trying to think of a Black Betterment way to approach it. And one is we if we go back to the where is it? Share screen. There we go. Present. And this for all those joining now as well. A way to actually view issues that might be outside of the black community before you really jump in and go full, support. And that is start off like in your heart. It's always good to want protection, for instance, all over the world. No one wants anyone to be mistreated. But the question one is, how are black people treated by those groups? So before you pick a side of who to support, ask both of those sides or any of those sides, how do they treat black people? We watch a few videos that unfortunately has demonstrated that in Israel, Ethiopians and Hebrew Israelites and other black people are mistreated. Unfortunately, we also looked at, even though from a systemic standpoint, Palestinians can't systemically oppress black people because they don't really have the power there, but they do have a bigoted approach towards many black people, as we see is quite widespread in the Arab world, unfortunately, at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So most unfortunate. So that's something to remember. So do these groups support black people in a way that can lose them their livelihood? So we're looking at many black people who unfortunately they're so used to protesting that they go full protest and unfortunately lose their livelihood through supporting other groups. But we're saying, does those other groups do the same thing back? You know, we're also reminded that a lot of these groups, they have millionaire famous musicians and actors, whatever. And there are many of the most prominent do not say a word about their own ethnic group or their own people group. So if they're not doing it, they obviously, they should be leading. And that leads to the third one, is in which group should lead protesting for the injustice of other groups. And we push forward that support the same way how others support us, like, with shaking your fist and going, we want better. But the other group should really be leading and risking it all for their own groups as we play support if we're going to play anything in well.
I think that the sad thing about it is that when we analyze capitalism, someone or some group has to be exploited, and the most dumbest or cleverest of the other groups understand that we're not going to volunteer and sacrifice ourselves to be exploited in that way. We're going to let the Sun people, known as the Africans, to do it. So it's almost as if there's like a, innate or something inside them that tells them that no, you're not supposed to be supporting that. You're supposed to be boss. It's like it's very it's like it's a belief they all have. I mean, what Stormzy did, I mean, he's just thinking about the brand, and he's built a name for himself. He's done some good things, man. Like I saw he's funded some university courses for some black students, which is great. But to be honest with you, he hasn't done anything wrong. What has he done wrong? So he's not supporting the Palestinians. And the thing is, that region, it's very closer to some of us. Some of us have relatives from that region, but I don't see him doing anything wrong, Brother Raven. You know what I mean? And like, he's supposed to do that. Why is he, for some reason, a bad person? You know what I mean? Nobody would ever sincerely destroy unethical code of conduct for us as a people. You go into Palestine, the black Palestinians, the original Palestinians, they're oppressed there. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. Like, I myself have seen it. I was listening to myself, how is a people who are oppressed have time to oppress other people when you be oppressed? You know what I mean? It makes sense. You know what I mean? How do you have time for that, man? Like, if you're getting oppressed, and don't get me wrong, the white Palestinians, they are facing hell, but how do they have time to oppress the original black Palestinians while getting oppressed? It's got to be done by design. So, shout out to Stormzy, man. You know what I mean?
Let's recap this. So Brother Ken is saying that actually, Stormzy hasn't done anything that can be really labeled bad, as in, like, he has no commitment to the Palestinian cause. He said free Palestine, then he did a McDonald's deal. And I guess if that's the case, then we really want to unpack the dedication to the other communities in actually trying to that now shut down Stormzy, because as we saw in the we'll play it once more time, I think. Let's see, hopefully let's see if we can find the Stormzy news. So it's only 1 minute. Let's see if we get the names right.
Come under fire this week for his partnership with McDonald's amid claims of hypocrisy. The 30-year-old singer unveiled his limited edition Stormzy meal last week.
Order like Stormzy.
But fans quickly piled onto him for working with a company that has appeared to support Israel, when the rapper had previously shared a pro-Palestinian message. Critics have gone so far as to plaster posters around London condemning the rapper's deal with the fast food chain. McDonald's has been boycotted by...
It's interesting because, like, maybe black people need to move more like that, in the sense of like, you know, many people say they support Black Lives Matter or Colin Kaepernick or whatever, but it's always like one foot in, one foot out kind of flex, where it's like they're not going to this length of actually like trying to shut down the NFL or trying to shut down certain owners of the teams or certain things. But with the Stormzy situation, they really are going out. But don't get me wrong. We recognize the injustices going on in the region. And this is, I'm not here to compare the pain, because you never do that. You never compare scars, whatever. But what I would say is we understand that, unfortunately, there are certain topics that will always get front line, and certain topics that will always get second rate, if any at all. So we're trying to cover what's going on in Congo at the moment, and it isn't really played, if at all, on the news for much time. So we're saying that actually, with the limited resources that black people have, want freedom for the Palestinians and the Israelis to sort themselves out, but spend your time and resources on the land you come from. I don't know where Stormzy's family comes from. I suspect he's somewhere in Africa. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's Ghana. It's Ghana. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So there's much challenges going on in Africa, and we're seeing that African leaders we're seeing some kind of element of them getting organized and trying to sort things out. So it could be a part of that process. Welcome, Black Betterment to Empress Christie. Always good to have you on the show, Black Betterment too.
Black Betterment, son, sister.
There you go. So I think so one thing I would say is that is something that we should really, I recommend, take more of interest in the sense of like there is no real
sorry, I had technical issues. Can you hear me now?
You can hear you now. Welcome to Black Betterment.
Thank you.
So this is the thing. We do try to cover Congo when we can, but it's an ongoing challenge. We have friends and families over there now who are still either having to go to Uganda or are surrounded to deal with some of the issues that is happening, and some corrupt governments are taking certain resources and using proxy wars and all this kind of stuff, right? That's allegedly point. So this is the thing, but this is the thing. I guess we can push on the field, like, how should we react? Like, because there is much harshness towards Brother Stormzy, but there are some people saying, well, actually, before you really start striking with this outside issue, as right or wrong as it might be, this is a brother who has, unlike most other rappers, been very direct of trying to help black people and highlight certain challenges and be consistent in areas that are quite beneficial.
Yeah.
So
I think,
go ahead, sister.
I think for me, it's just that kind of that they're sneaking up with that word again, like when they used in our last discussion when they were talking about community, they're talking about fans. I'm just wondering what particular fans they're talking about, because apparently they were even posting stickers up, like there's stickers all around South London talking about Stormzy's a sellout or sellout Stormzy or something like that, apparently.
We got here for you. So
campaigners. After it emerged, Stormzy's collaboration with Campaign came after he appeared to delete a Free Palestine post he'd shared on Instagram last year. Critics have accused him of selling out.
Stormzy,
and now stickers have appeared around McDonald's drive-thrus in the capital that read, "We regret to inform you that Stormzy has sold out. Apologies for any disappointment." The artist Darren Cullen is behind.
Who's Darren? His name's Darren Cullen, yeah? Is that a brother or is that
the stunt? His post has received over 20,000 likes, while his video showing the posters at different chains has racked up over 100,000 views. Pro-Palestine supporters praised Cullen's stunt, meanwhile left angry comments on Stormzy's various online profiles.
He's a European gentleman. He looks like he works on the streets or something. I don't know. I don't know if that's his marketing. He looks very disheveled, but maybe he's working hard.
But this is what I'm saying, though, bro. This is just the things that winds me up, because this is what I mean. Stormzy's critiques, who are they? And I don't know any black people that when we're angry, we go around making stickers and sticking them around the central London or in the ends. Like this this is very much of a different group of people than it would be us. And this is when I just tend to think, oh, so is this Bane? Is this This is all I see with BAME, you know, because when it's time for our oppression, it's silent. But the expectation for other groups to expect to dictate where our artists can go and who they support is a joke to me.
Very
Like,
disrespectful. Very disrespectful.
very disrespectful as per usual, and this entitlement as per usual, because I don't think it's just lays at the Europeans. I think every other race have an expectations of black people to be the righteous charge, to be there for them, and to put their own oppression, like what's currently happening in Congo and Sudan, in the back burner, even though he is from the continent, and then have to put their oppression over ours, and then have to think that because he decided to not do that, then then you're gonna decide that we as a people are going to cancel him. And this is what I say. I will never sign up for this this elusive community, this BAME, because when they're ready, they dilute and complicate things. Because I don't think this is our people particularly. I can't talk for every single one of us, but me particularly, I'm not losing sleep that Stormzy did this. You know, I'm indifferent, but do I feel that, you know, he should lose money and take food out of his mouth, and we should now all of a sudden cancel him when there is a list of things that man has specifically done for us, not just for me. Like, no way.
You know, it's the sad thing about it, that the other groups, they will go into neighborhoods and exploit us and even sell us harmful foods, you know, and they're all right with it. You know what I mean? They're all right to capitalize, and then when we're
absolutely, no one's talking about the cancer chemicals in the relaxers that they're banging out. No one's talking about the out-of-date chemicals that they're selling to us that goes through our pores and seeps into our bloodstream. No one seems to care then.
There's no boycotting.
Exactly, no stickers.
Nothing at all. And you know, it's sad because as what Brother Raven always says, man, like, we don't have no friends, man. We really don't. And a lot of the time when you speak to people, they will say that you're very cold-hearted. You know what I mean? They say, like, those who are, you know, Pan-Africanists, Black Betterment followers, you know what I mean? You're very cold-hearted. We're all humans. But the reality of it is not being cold-hearted. It's really protecting yourself. You know, we get exploited every single day. We get exploited. And when we fight back, it's like black people just shut up and die. It's disrespectful, man.
Literally, please shut up and die. And do you mind just doing it quietly and not make a disturbance, please?
Yeah.
Literally.
So what we have to understand is when we approach this, because of the sensitivity of the situation, it's going to cause much anxiety. So what we're recommending is a way how black people can navigate and, like, to, you know, make an informative decision that is in the best interest of black people collectively. So Brother Dominic is saying, why did he delete the post? No, I can't answer it for him, but let's just say he did, as in, you know, he didn't want to cause, he wanted to appease his McDonald's payment or whatever, right? Once again, I personally don't support all that. I don't know any benefit of actually promoting McDonald's or anything technically, right? But that has happened. But I think before we even get there, if we can have this kind of like way of thinking, like okay, it is constructive to want innocent people to be protected and have justice, right? Regardless where you're from. But before you really jump in, you have to ask yourself the three questions: how are black people treated by those groups? We've established that unfortunately every group doesn't like black people. It's not a trick question. There is black people collectively have no friends is a real statement. It's something that we never made up. It's something that we know has been told to us by non-black people and black people for generations. The transatlantic slave trade and the Arab slave trade, and Brother Carl was talking about expectations. These expectations of other groups towards our group comes from those institutions that were made to enslave and to dominate and to neo-colonize and this kind of stuff, right?
That's right.
So attitudes have been developed culturally where it's like black people will always be seen as subservient, regardless of where they find themselves in the totem pole, right? So because of that, we understand that we have no friends, right? So we understand that number one, we are how are black people treated by these groups? Very badly. Okay. Every time I go to Speaker's Corner and I talk to people of Asian and Arab descent, they let me know that. and then they casually tell me, like, it's so acknowledged that it's like, well, this is normal life. Just like how certain people don't want to associate with homeless people for many reasons. It's the same with black people, but when they're saying it, there's an expectation that you should understand that's how it is, right? Not that this is bad, but yeah, we get it. And I guess when we look at certain Instagram feeds and documentations where they show you that, kids, when they're lying on someone, they might say a black man stole it, right? So very young people are told that, okay, you can always use black people as a scapegoat if you've done something wrong. Say a black man did it, right? So this is all part of the building. Number two, do these groups support black people in a way that can lose them their livelihood? What you tend to find, and all support is amazing, and we give thanks for it. But what you tend to find is you might find someone punching their fist on the social media or making their thing all black or something like that, right? But do people really go like and limb to support black people? Like, for example, if we said no more phone companies to support the Congo, would people support that? Who knows? So it is an interesting thing, but I would say that do these groups support black people in a way that can lose them their livelihood? I've not seen that yet. I mean, there's two people in history, one from the European world, who was John Brown, who died. And once again, we even though we give thanks for any kind of sacrifice, we don't then spread that upon Europeans as that's what they're doing, because one man did it, but it was good. And then I think there was one Arab person, maybe in the Zanj rebellion, who was, I think his name Ali Muhammad or something like that. I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah.
There's one guy who allegedly might have been from Persia or somewhere like this kind of place. So maybe. So and if that brother did good things for the Zanj.
To Dominique's statement.
Go ahead, sister.
Because I think that it is a valid question to ask. I don't want what I'm saying to get.
Yes.
I think there's two conversations happening here,
Yes,
because
right.
The main thing that I'm strong on, which like I don't feel be any surprise to families, that I don't like outside communities thinking that they have any right to talk about people within our community and who they decide to support on their platform. Period. That's what I'm more that's more what's kind of ticked me off about that. But in regards to what Kane is asking, that can be a discussion in-house if that discussion got brought up organically within the community. And I think on the back of what you brothers are discussing, which we typically know, is that these people infiltrate us, act like we're having this holistic conversation. No, you've seen something that Stormzy did and you don't like it, and now you're making it an issue and a topic of discussion. Now, if black people did decide to organically say, oh, well, Stormzy is now got got a contract with McDonald's and he's got some money, but previously he's deleted a post. If that was an organic discussion from black people, then fair play, let black people have it. But again, I'd side-eyed black people to having that discussion when not even a month ago it was okay to take 2%. Do you understand? So we're not going to start talking about when it's okay to get funds and when it's not okay to get funds. At the end of the day, he's an artist, and I still lie that an artist is an artist. He sings music. Now, if we happen to have an artist who's within our community, actually has a bit of consciousness, he's got my support. And as long as he has not disrespected us and he constantly reinvests his own money prior to this and making sure that black kids go to the top university, he's had public backlash of that. He's not one of these artists that cower when when the conversation of race comes on. He's announced that his love for black women. He's known that he's got a black mum. When he's done stuff that has been a bit tricky with the community or has been offensive to the sisters, he's held his own feet to the fire and came back and commented on it. So Stormzy tries to do his best as an artist, because he's not a lead, he's not everything else, he's an artist. And for what he does for the community, I just give him, I do give him ratings thus far. I give him ratings compared to the other people that we have around us. And that's what I just want to make clarified. So I think that we should be mindful into these kind of discussions that we decided to dip into. And this discussion right here just flashes up with red flags. Like all of a sudden, it's topic that Stormzy has got a contract with another capitalistic country. So, I mean, come on. Do you know what I mean? Like Nike, Coca-Cola. We're used to seeing artists and capitalist big companies merge together for finance. Do you understand?
Exactly.
So I don't, and especially if we're going to talk like that, then we're really going to all have to talk about what we're carrying right now on in our pockets, and how that's in relation to Congo. So do you know what I mean? I just kind of think like really we need to just assess where these kind of things are, and the kinds of that. I always think that Stormzy would be a good candidate to take down anyway, isn't it? He's a black brother. He knows himself, and he keeps on pushing money for these young black kids to do better. Do you know what I mean? I just think out of all people, it's Stormzy you're coming from. No, not from us. But if that was an organic question in regards to, because maybe there is a discussion about, I do think that maybe Stormzy might think twice the next time he does just jump on a bandwagon when people talk about pray for France, pay for Palestine. Maybe he will double think the next time to just jumping on a bandwagon and putting it on. That's for him to have that discussion with himself, right? But I don't think that this is necessarily a thing, and I'm glad. I don't know. I've not, I said I've kind of tapped out of the whole social media, but I'm hoping that this is not a thing from the community that are generally bashing him. But I do think that the community should be paying attention about who's doing that, because that's not us printing out stickers and sticking them all around South London.
Yeah, and we do want to, like I said, there is an understanding that is a very touchy subject, because obviously we can see what the plight of Palestinians and also the plight of Ethiopians in the region of Israel and this kind of stuff, right? And we can understand it, and there is a humanity where we want to make sure that all people who face problems have a correct solution and stuff. I think, but from a Black Betterment standpoint, though, we have to understand that there's always a kind of bias and heavy load expectation upon Black people. And the people who have the least are expected to do the most. And unfortunately, we might try to uphold that within ourselves. So when we see our people not supporting other causes, we might go extra hard on them. And I'm saying that you might need to reevaluate that. Now, this doesn't say that there is no support for the people and the plight of other people. But what we are saying that when you go like for like, collectively, Black people have no friends. And we have not recovered from other communities, i.e. the transatlantic slave trade and the Arab slave trade. We haven't recovered from the devastating effects that those have caused. And when we go like for like, I think we never, like I said, we don't compare pain for pain and scar for scar. But we were aware that I've been getting phone calls about Congo for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, about friends and family having to move cities and all this kind of stuff. And this is not something that is an issue that is going to cover outside of, pro-Black community and Congo community and stuff. So it shows you that already.
And we're aware of that. That silence is deafening.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is the thing. That's why we need a code of conduct, because without a code of conduct in place, we will always go 1,000 miles for other communities and 0 miles for our own. You see, and then what will happen is there'll be a greater expectation that we're seeing, and a great expectation is, well, if you said save Palestine, or the tweet was whenever it was, then now you're working for a company that gave food supplies to the community when something happened a few months back, whatever. So this is unacceptable. But Black people are joining in on this, and I'm saying that we need to really have a bigger conversation about how should we approach it, and that's what the show's about.
The thing is, as well, Brother Raven, is that the Syrians, the lighter ones, and the lighter Palestinians. Do you know that when they made the migration away from problems in the land, West Africa took them in, West Africa, Ghana, and the places there, took them in, the other way around, though, unfortunately, there's a different story. So we don't have to prove to anyone, to be fair. Like, if we're, Stormzy's not a sellout because he's signed up for McDonald. He's a sellout if he doesn't use the money and spend on the black community because we raised him. That's where he's the sellout. That's where he's unsynchronized. He's not unsynchronized because he's making deals with other companies that go against the other communities.
Well, yeah,
I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because we are in Babylon, so to expect people not to get a finance or work with people is a different ball game. But I'm glad that brother Cal mentioned that, because I did want to mention that point actually, because we have people like Aretha Franklin and other artists who, had their little deals and their brand deals, were getting their money, but in the back doors they were breaking paying for Black Panthers bails, putting in money in the civil rights causes, supporting Martin Luther King on several, the history, the connection between the Black artists and the civil rights, the arts, in fact, and civil rights was very close behind closed doors. We even know about Ali and how he helped within. So when it comes to that time, everybody had a sense of social responsibility, because obviously the boogeyman was overt, right? They all knew who the bad guy was. And I think that's perhaps why we do still have that trickles, where people still look to the artists or certain people within our community and expect them to have that consciousness, because perhaps we've had that before. Do you understand?
We did, yeah.
And
we did.
I feel that
everyone, yeah,
exactly. And I feel that is kind of blatantly now when we look at our artists, that's just gone. But I am always hesitant to knock people down if we don't know 100% what they're doing behind the scenes. And I think Stormzy's, I'm not going to put him in the ranks of the Aretha Franklins and all of the rest of them, because I don't know everything that he has done. But from what I do know, I know that, someone said that, there's no Black cultural centers, real estate, spaces for Black people bought by Black celebrities. And that's I don't know ins and outs. I know that, the people we were talking about before, Crep and Cronan, I know that they did a few businesses, right? Whether or not you say it's for the community, I'm not going to fight anything to say that that was for the community. I think that's more for themselves. But I know that Stormzy, like I said before, he has put money in for sponsorships for people to go to universities, top universities within the UK. I think he also had the Murkies FC, which I think is like a kind of football kind of place that he's setting up. So
scholarship,
yes. Right. So these are just the things we know about. So I think that I do agree with you, and I think that should be remembered, especially with us, that because we know that Stormzy even doing that that scholarship for kids in the university, the amount of white people that just wanted to cancel that man because they were like, well, don't white kids need to go to university as well? So can you imagine if some things I can understand that if he says, you know what, I'm doing this, I'm already getting flack for it, some things I'm going to do underground and I can't announce it. And I think, and I'm not just saying that Stormzy, hopefully there are more artists that are doing things like that. So I am always give just a little bit of leeway, because I never know what they're doing in the background. But when you have an example like Stormzy, when he's doing so much overtly, I'm not surprised if I found out that he was doing a lot more behind the scenes, if that makes sense as well.
Yeah, that does make sense. We looked at like the top 7 things he's done, and at least 4 of them were Black. 4 Black people by Black people, and he spoke very direct about it. So,
right, and who can we give that? Who can we match like for that? Like we can't even get. How many people can we? That's one per. Who else can we say that we can do that?
I've really
have to try really hard for me to
very hard,
very hard. Like that's that one. We protected that one.
I have to say that brother like him. Brother like Swiss doing the Poundland.
Exactly.
Poundland, sorry, the Black Pound Day.
Soon, bro. Black Poundland. Soon.
I said, but yeah, soon. That's coming. That's coming.
I'll get a residence right there.
We'll get more than 2%. We'll get more than 2% now. So yeah. So these brothers, and sisters as well. They're doing their thing, and and it is important. And even like a Carla, I've seen a Carla like behind the scenes is giving black brothers advice about how to invest. So I've heard, and I know personally he's given. I don't have a secret, but I know he's given a lot of support to some organizations I've been around helping out, and I've seen him on the paperwork and stuff. So there's
Anthony Joshua. A lot of people have done things behind the scenes.
Yeah. So we give thanks, but I guess what we're leading to is this concept of canceling our own. We have to really think about it, but that doesn't mean that we're not synchronized with like understanding the plight and pain. But the moral of the story is, black people we're not in an equal conversation. We're not in an equal paradigm. So, like I said, it's not like for like. And because not like we need a code, and the code is you allow others to lead on their stuff and let them lead, and then let them say how they want us to cheer and scream or whatever. But we don't, because I think they even showed Mark Lamont Hill, and he lost his job by being pro-Palestine, right? So it's like it's a lot to have to lose your job, and there's people from Palestine who are more richer than him who say nothing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, DJ Khaled, for example.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that he's Palestinian as well.
And he has been slammed because he's not even mentioned it. He won't even dare do it because his money is number one, and because obviously he's pandering to black people. So for black people to realize that one of their number one DJs that they've let into the set is like Palestinians, like Jesus.
Well, if you look at the Colin Kaepernick, like I think the brother still hasn't been signed by a team, and now they've got the whole Jay-Z and Kendrick performing and doing the Super Bowl or whatever. But it's like where was the support for the brother there, and make it and rebelling against the network that never got him hired and all that kind of stuff. It was you don't really see that kind of like super dedicated commitment for some black issues as you are seeing, unfortunately for this issue here, where people are really going the extra mile to shame someone for their business acumen. Not that we support the time, but it is a case study we're doing.
They really do. I don't even think it's necessarily a shame. I think of course, there's elements to shame to it that they're trying to do, but I honestly believe that a majority of it is the expectation. Like, they cannot believe it. Like, I remember when they first started pushing this Palestine thing on people, like just generically, like creators and things like that. And they'd be like, I just don't understand. Like, they'd go to so much of these black creators. I'm like, I just don't understand. Like, everyone went crazy for this black lives thing, this black flag thing. And first of all, it was Israel. Do you remember that, bro? Where the Israelis were, because for the first time they were getting that pushback, I think maybe for ages, and they're all like, I don't understand, people are talking about Black Lives Matter, but we've just had whatever happened, I think in October, whatever, and it was a big thing for Israel, right? And that's when I first noticed it. Then I started noticing that it came from the Palestinians as well, and they were just harassing them, but like all the mainstream creators, anything hip hop, just black in general, and they'll be pressurizing them to do it as well. And I was like, rah, these people legit believe, bro. Like, this is what I'm saying when we're talking about the programming, it's not just hit us, like it's actually hit these people with the expectation of the common man to think that, hold on, you're talking about something, a whole topic here, and you have not once said Palestine. I couldn't believe the audacity. Like, so I honestly believe that these people honestly have this, yes, it's shame, but they honestly do believe that it's expected that you should do it. Just like if, for example, if someone fainted and someone says, is there a doctor here? You expect the doctor to do the doctorly services. When there's oppression, you expect the black person to focus on that oppression, especially if it isn't theirs. Like, because think about it, you have South Africa, who was one of the biggest countries pushing for Israel, right?
Mm.
And we're talking about South Africa. Do you know how much is happening on the continent, bro?
Mm.
I don't know. Honestly, sometimes we are some of our own enemy, but also the expectations for other people for us to just be like this nightingale
it's rank.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like whole Congo is happening, and you have the audacity to say to an African man, you know, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
What?
Yeah, I think what we should really be pushing forward is we're happy to match the energy that other communities have done for us. You see, and that's very shocking when people hear that. But it's like, you know, we can match the energy because technically the energy has been somewhat, you know, dimmed, quite lower, just enough to say don't do these horrible things, whatever. But the full kind of like campaigning and losing your job and tied to expectations and stuff, and this has to be a bigger discussion. You know.
I think the Stormzy one though is that because they're so clumsy, and like I always say, they're so lazy. It's the same old play. I think the sticker thing for me just smacked it. I was like, this is not us. But the hijacking of trying to make it us and cancel this man, like you really, and I think the consciousness is ticking. Do you know what I mean? I really think that the consciousness of Black people, they're getting forced to think a bit deeper. I think us who were born before this, so we weren't born into this social media, we saw the gaps. You know, this don't make no sense. Black people are not just going up on arms about Stormzy getting a contract deal with McDonald's about a meal that's going to last a month. We don't, like, come on. But the way that they're marketing it, I think hopefully that's something for us to look again, like, wow, look how they're playing us. Like, look how they're really spinning the narrative. Look how they conjured up this story to make it a problem within us now. Godspeed to Stormzy. Yeah? Godspeed to him. You know, like, honestly, the cheek to actually try to conjure this up and then to just try and cancel the man. I hope that this, as you said, is an example of how they use us, and we have to move smarter. Like every single time they try to drop some sort of narrative of something, a breaking news of somebody, especially if they're good to our community, I double check that, triple check that before I even react, if I even choose to look into it and react to it. And I hope like that just happens more and more, because they're so clumsy. Like stickers printed in South London stuck around. Really, that's us, yeah? We're so disgusted with Stormzy. We went to go and print out like, come on now. I know who that does sound like.
That is a lot of effort to go to design.
Exactly, bro. A lot. It really is. Like when you start like thinking about the mechanics of it, it is a lot. And the perception that you're trying to show on that as well, like his community's gone against, like within the Black community, they're so that you know, that we're so worried about Palestine that even if one of us do it, we'll block them over what's happening in Congo, over what's happening in Sudan, over what's happening to our brothers in the US. Like, but this one thing right here, we're going to cancel the man and stop food going into his mouth.
I guess this is kind of connected. But there was a brother from somewhere in Africa, but he's now based in America. And I think when Kendrick Lamar was doing the NFL performance, he came out and he had a Palestine flag and a Sudan flag, and he's been banned for life. But when he spoke, he said he wanted to highlight injustices that Muslims are going through.
His Muslim brothers.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing. Obviously, faith plays a big part in many people's lives, but it's interesting that, you know, the performance was a kind of pro-Black performance from an all-Black cast, whatever. He himself was a Black man, and when he came out, what he wanted to highlight was the Muslim injustice, kind of like the football where the Moroccan guy won, and he wanted to big up the Arab world and Africa for Morocco get to the. You see what I'm saying? Like, you see how people connect. Like at the same point, if the brother could have had a Congo flag as well, but
I'm not gonna lie. You see, bro. See, that's how you know you're around like-minded people, boy. Because that was the only thing that I thought in that performance. I just thought, oh, do you know what I mean? Like, you could have done like a Congo. I did think that, and I'm
talking about the protester. I don't know if you
on the performance at the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl when he done the flag.
Yeah, he came out, but
he had the double flag, so he had
double flag.
Sudan and Palestine.
All the Congo
when you said that, I did kind of think, but you talking about the fact that the Palestine element was entered in, even though
it was entered in, it was but it was entered in by a black man, but his motivation was injustice faced by Muslims, right?
Yeah.
So it shows you that his mindset. You see, when black people lead with things like religious terms and stuff, right? It tends to come more so from the people who have given them that expression, them personally, right? So in many situations, people, if you're a black person, you're born in Nigeria, you might be born to an Islamic background, right? But some people, they can revert from either the Asian community or the Arab community, and with that, they can be fed a kind of dynamics between who of which group is more dominant in the Ummah, right? So you can get that vibe if someone is kicking down the door and they're saying, my Muslim brothers in a pro-black kind of performance, and they're not really mentioning the whole African aspect or the black aspect or other people going through similar plight who just have the Muslim as well, funny enough, right? If you think about Congo's population, but it's that kind of thing. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think that I personally think that I know this has already been said online, but I kind of think that I don't necessarily want to say it because of that how I am. But I do think that the person who had the flag was a part of the show. Like, I think that was in design. Like, I think Kendrick and because the way that they came out, and you've got that big flag's been there ages. Like, if security really knew about it and stuff, that he would have been pulled out long ago. He wouldn't have had that long time. He wouldn't have been able to get that close to Kendrick if he wasn't a part of the team. He was wearing the same clothes as the other dancers. Like, it was all black. Do you understand? So I do think that, again, it was Kendrick doing another message to the world.
Maybe.
And I think, and I'm gonna again give him grace, because number one, I am one of them people who got what he was doing there, and I think I loved it. I loved what he did. I think.
Are you talking about Kendrick, or are you talking about?
I'm talking about Kendrick, right?
Oh yeah, we're talking about separate things there.
Are you talking about the guy who was doing the flag at the Kendrick
show?
Yeah.
I'm just talking.
So I'm just okay. So hold on, but I'm landing, bro. Yeah, because I was saying that I think the guy in the flag, I don't think he was a random guy. Do you think he was just a random guy who came up to do a protest?
Well, now you're speaking, maybe I have to really think through it. But
this is what I'm trying to say. So I think that he was a part of the whole thing.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, because I don't think you could get that close to Kendrick, be that long, walk around with a flag and not been pulled out by security by then. Do you know what I mean? I think he knew that the whole thing was a middle finger up to most things anyways. Kendrick was doing his own thing in there, innit? So that wouldn't surprise me if that was another one. Do you know what I mean? So he I can see your comment. I'll respond to that after Dominique. So yeah, so I think that because it was all pro-black and things like that, I think that they did that, and I'm the grace that I'm giving is that he was like, all right, I've done the most like pro-black fist in the air thing on the main stage, and now should we do the should we highlight what's going on in Sudan? Yeah, but we're really going in. All right, let's just add a Palestine to get through. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the way I see it. But I get what you're saying. Do you understand what I'm seeing it from?
I see it.
I'm saying that, like, you know what I mean? Because really, if it was just supposed to be Palestine, then it would have just been Palestine. Sudan as well is one of the ones that are not as popularized. Do you understand? So for him to put Sudan on there as well, I think to just kind of soften the blow, because we have black people among us who are so, oh, what about Palestine? And, do you know what I mean? Like, all right, just give them that little Palestine. But listen, if you've got to have a Palestine in there, you better put one of my people, like one of my African countries, up in there as well.
Well, that's a kind of approach, sis. And I would like that to be correct and true.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
However, because the brother was banned for life, and he led by saying this is for the Muslim world, right? This is for the Muslim brothers going for death, right? That, like I said, that is the lead. The lead is for the Muslim brothers, right? Yeah, and it's what I'm saying. So it's like
absolutely.
So a pro-black performance now, because Palestine has a bigger scope than Sudan. So
absolutely.
So just that there, it's like, okay, was that the best time to do it? But once again, people protest to do what they're doing in it, right? But for me, I'm always going to be aware of when black people use ethnic concepts or religious concepts to not highlight black issues, right? Speaker's Corner was a perfect place for that, right? Where it was very difficult. Like Muslim brothers will come to me and they'll say, brother, I want to help what you're doing, but you can't use the term black and you can't use the term African. You got to, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, how do we know who we're affecting if I can't? And this was like when cameras were off, it was a very, very, very big thing. Like to come and tell me, like, we like what you're doing, but can you not say the word black? Can you not say the word African? I'm like, well, you know what I mean?
Listen, like, you know, I'm 100% with you on that, bro. It would have been beautiful if it was 100%. The team, you know, I get what you're saying, and then for the man to come out as well, and then you get questions about it, and then but again, maybe this is me giving grace, because I do give grace to the ones that I support, right? But again, the reporter was like, okay, you came out for Palestine, like, why are you coming out for Palestine? So his thing was directly around that, like, why did you come out for Palestine and this thing? So he then said, because my Muslim brothers are facing oppression. Do you understand? So on that term, like, you had a direct question, you give a direct answer. But yes, he was banned for life in the Super Bowl. But check it. If I'm able to, if I don't care about Babylon, like, I'm coming out to do all of that, and I really am that kind of, you know, for the people, the human rights, I don't care if I'm getting a ban. Do you know what I mean? He got a ban. He's not going to go there anyway. He shouldn't even support that kind of thing. It was just there to do a statement. You know, if he was arrested, he's out now. I didn't hear that he got locked up or anything like that. So for me, I think it kind of was all agreed to do it. And I think Kendrick just made sure, you know, nothing bad's going to happen. Probably walk her over, ban, you know, and that's it. So that's my kind of thing. But I 100% agree with what you're saying, 100%, because that's the code. Do you know what I mean? So I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, his name is it Zulkarnain Namtambu. He's based in New Orleans. I assume he's first or second generation of an immigrant. I would assume from maybe,
or he could have just been an African American brother. Who's
he changed his name. Because
it's not like he had an accent or nothing like that. He did have a beard, I think, from memory. But
although I would say there is a lot of people from the continent who are now being born in America because their parents moved there in the 90s or whatever it was. Right? So there's a lot of that going, and that is something we're going to tackle as well at some point. The miscommunication between ethnic groups in America and these places where, because of where people are coming from, they might not be on the same page when it comes to, protesting or rights or reparations and this kind of stuff, right? So that's something that I will have to. There's some arguments going at the moment that we're going to cover at some point.
Oh God, what the ADOS kind of arguments?
Yeah, and how that works, and once again, just like with the Black Betterment approach, because I was actually in some debate or something, watching something about the origins of hip hop and origins of jazz and this kind of stuff, and how that discussion might be used to undermine. At the moment, I think that they were arguing about if Puerto Ricans were
Yeah, I think that's the one that I recently heard. It was about
yeah,
Puerto Ricans this time.
if Puerto Ricans contributed to hip hop or contribute to the origin of hip hop, and that's causing a big argument. And you know, and
what do you think about those discussions? I'm starting to like. What do you like in a great scheme of things? What's happening now? What do you think of those discussions that they actually happen at the same time as what's happening now? Do you think that those? Do you think those discussions are more harmful than good?
Yeah. So me personally, and this is just to give context to the audience. What we're discussing is in America at the moment. There's interracial conflict and also international conflict, disagreements about.
Yeah, because this time it's the Puerto Ricans, but I've definitely heard them talk about it with Caribbeans.
Oh, definitely. This was a few months back. So So my approach is this, right? Whenever black people, I'm more interested in the black area because Puerto Ricans represents three kind of racial groups: the native, the European, and the African, and that's because Puerto Rican is a nationality, right? Not a racial collective. And that's the trickery that I think is important. And that is that when hip hop was being created, like formulated in the 70s, it is African American origin art form. But at that time, there was many people from the Caribbean who integrate heavily into the African American culture, right? So Kool Herc was a person of Jamaican descent, but he had become African American through his verbiage and the way he acted, and was a very important contributor to the progression of hip hop. The difference between someone like him and say like white people, Puerto Rican people, if it was, the only way they could really get in was through stage. So, for example, a white Puerto Rican would be more comfortable to get into hip hop then because there'll be an Afro Puerto Rican who can introduce him to. You see, because the European Puerto Ricans at that point had disdain for black people in general, including the Afro Puerto Ricans in their country. So hip hop was used as a way to unify all those groups together because it was something they were doing in love. But what they're complaining about now is a colonizer mentality where European Puerto Ricans are saying we co-own hip hop.
It's not a whole black. It's not a black solely black.
This is why I have to jump in. This is why I have to jump in and say I've seen this behavior before, right? In other kind of in other kind of art forms that are around the Caribbean and around like South America, right? So I'm all for African Americans gatekeeping. So if hip hop
turn into jazz,
rock, it really has. It really tried to
country and western,
of course, right? So I support that. What I try to do is how Caribbean people more so and Afro Puerto Ricans should approach African Americans gatekeeping. It should never come. I would recommend it doesn't come from a competition standpoint, but understanding because the history I know about African Americans has always been inclusive. Like from what I've seen, African Americans have always been inclusive of things they've done, and what they're doing now is they actually are gatekeeping because that people are actually trying to claim and take credit away from African Americans. Also, there are many people from the diaspora who go to America, unfortunately, and they are more connected to the Europeans and the white people than the African Americans. So they're easy to use to undermine things. For example, the reparations claims. Like I've seen that. I've seen many non-African American people try to dismantle claims for reparations on public platforms, but speak as black people.
Black ones?
Yeah, so they speak like I'm a black person and I say there should be no reparations. And then when you look at their lineage and when you look at where they're from, they're not from the African American background, and they don't generally see. I mean, it's not a good example to use, but that Sudanese guy we cover who does who's always talking about how black women are this and black women are that, and his Caribbean friend, whatever, right? When you look at their history, they're very synchronized with Europeans. They've got pictures of them, trying to fit in. So it is a very good case study to see that, unfortunately. And I think, a good video for me to play is Robin Walker, where he was talking about, unfortunately, people go to America and people always say things like, oh, well, when Nigerians and Jamaicans, whatever, go to America, they excel so much. But what he says, what you have to look at is, one, you're looking at the best of Nigeria and Jamaica who have the money and finance to leave to go to America. But when you actually look at the American high class, middle class, whatever it is, it's a very different league when it comes to seeing how they excel. But what's been happening is there is much like insults going towards the African American community, saying like, "Oh, we've disrupted the country. Look at us doing well, and you guys are still struggling. Pull yourself out of your bootstraps." And this is causing this kind of conflict. And this is what we should really tackle: how to approach that to minimize anxiety and minimize further division. It's a very tricky one, but
it is. I don't know. I think that this. I only started seeing this thing was the start of these kind of discussions with certain narratives was from Tariq Nasheed and ADOS, to be honest with you. And I think it's all kinds of been birthed from there. And I think that was, although I 100% agree, because I'm the first one to be screaming about gatekeeping, I think that it was so damaging. Tariq Nasheed has done that. And I think that up to that point, I had never heard a Black person, especially if they wasn't Black American, say that Black people shouldn't have reparations.
I've seen it. I was well aware of this claim before it came out. I've seen it. So
I hadn't, and I'd been in discussions with many people who had said that before, even Black Americans. So I don't, even if you have seen it, I don't think that it was a common thing, like it was constantly said, because reparations weren't even a commonly discussed discussion. Well, so to be like random Black people would like, anyway, I'll see how it goes, but I just think that as well, we can, as per usual, we can be our own problem, and we can generate and gas and portray an atmosphere and forget where it originates. And anything of recent that has like Black attached to it, more times it's so lazy and it's been attached to some sort of white supremacy or something that's not for us. And all that I have had from Tariq Nasheed is just division and problems. That's all that's broken away. I think there's been splinter groups of, there's another type of ADOS or FBA. It's just been splinter groups of just infighting. And I think the actual point of that direct message of ring fencing and guarding, which I 100% agree that they should do, and I would support them 100% on, that narrative gets lost because all you hear amongst them is a bunch of infighting. So now it might be common to hear people say that now, because it is the common thing to say. It's spread around, it's been regurgitated, and that's what I'm saying. We kind of be our own problem. It goes back to this, what we're talking about right here about Stormzy. If the Black community really doesn't care about it, we shouldn't talk about it, so we can expose who are really talking about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you know what I mean? So I just think that we as in, there is when we're talking about Black people, how we move the community, it's normally collective. There are the rare times where we do have, well, most times we have self-responsibility within that Black community, but the rare times when it doesn't take as much effort are things like this, like decide what you want to put your energy into and assess it. Like you said before you look at anything, is this going to be good for us? Is this helping us? What is the generic kind of, what is the genesis of it? So I just kind of, I think of that. That's why, to me, I asked you if you think that discussion right now is a discussion that's helpful. But I guess I get what you mean in regards to if the discussion is happening and talking to people within the diaspora to how to approach it. I guess that's
what you just said there is important. So, and this is something that I remember happening many years back, and it was, and it connects what we're saying here, as in like Stormzy has done a plethora of things publicly for Black people, and he's done this thing that is not connected to Black people, but there's much disagreement from certain communities for it, right? And the question is, how do we approach this situation? And I think it's the same thing with like, okay, there's a discord going on. How do we approach it? How I've seen people approach it is, I'm offended by what you say, so I'm going to offend you, and then it's going to be this ethnic group versus that ethnic group, right? And I'm saying that once we're aware of that, there should be a kind of like how to really a constructive way to find a solution. And so when you say things like Tariq Nasheed, I know someone like him from the many years of making like the documentary about the Haitian Revolution, about the Hidden Colors.
I've got all of them. I've got all of them as well. But then he decided to turn on the same black people that he was bigging up, and he decided he didn't like them anymore.
What's very important, right, is and I learned this through Gun Speakers Corner because of the nuance and how people are so dynamic in the way they do things, right? Like they're pro-black here, but then they do such very trolly, comically abusive behavior patterns. You're like, I didn't know the two things could coexist. And I think when you're dealing with this internet world, you can do that. So I'm saying that someone like Tariq Nasheed and these other guys, they have a history of being pro-black, right? And doing big work. So whenever there is this confusion that is allegedly stemmed from other ethnic groups sabotaging other ethnic groups' progress, then we can approach it very differently from, say, when you look at those two gentlemen who have always tried to be in the white community and use degrading black people as a method to get a white approval.
Yeah, but Tariq Nasheed degrades black people every day on his lives. Every day he's slewing them. Every day. Like he's literally acting like he's like roast African boo-boo scratcher. Like, bro, like he's the worst of it. Like it's bad.
What I want to do, so sister, what I want to do is I'm agree with everything.
So when you're trying to talk from there, now you're creating a whole movement. This is what I'm saying. Like I just think
hold on, sis. Before you say that point, one thing that I always try to put across when people say movements and stuff is because ADOS is a movement, Afro-American sense of slave, based upon the lineage. Well, I think what Tariq and them guys are doing is talking about ethnic group, and they're saying that they just want to rebrand African American.
Well, this is what I mean. He's always rebranding, bro. It started at ADOS, then it was FBA, whatever it is now. I stopped at African Boo Boo Scratcher. That's what I'm saying. Like for me,
I think this approach. I think this is very important because we're gonna come across people who are from these kind of this new kind of stuff, right? And I'm thinking the approach we do it, and it's like I want to have a conversation with us. What is the first point of offense? So what is it that's causing this? And let's have unpack there, because if we start going, they said this, he said that, what will happen next is, well, I don't like this person, this one. Okay, I'm interested to know what will send a man to go from this to that. How do you go from everyone fight together under black empowerment or Pan-Africanism or liberation of Haiti or whatever it is to the trolling and squabbling on the internet about someone's hairline or about someone's food? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but don't you think that there could be another option, that he could just be another drifter like we always have within this community?
The thing is, I think that just like with Stormzy, I don't know him in and out, but I do know.
Yeah, but you've seen enough of him, bro. We've seen that he did a whole series of black empowerment, black history. Yeah. And he's literally done a 180 where he has slewed continents, slewed women, slewed men, slewed kids, like promotes it. Like that's what he's done on the open. So I don't need to know what he's done on the background, because he's shown us what he's done. He's taken a bunch of money for a museum that never opened.
It has opened, sis. It's open. That's important. So what I'm saying is, what is very important for me to do is to have a conversation with whoever about these things to get the facts out, because I don't agree with any of the behavioral patterns I'm seeing on the internet anyway, right? I don't believe any of it, right? But how it's connected to this topic is, how do we react when in the middle of a domino effect, right? And what it is what
I'm not disagreeing with you. I even said that. Like, it depends on how the discussion goes, and I was just genuinely just moving the conversation, asking you, like, don't you think that someone like that there could be a third option, that he could also be a drifter? You know, but I get it. Like we can dissect.
I agree. Listen, my personal stance is every single black person who does any form of community work is deeply damaged. and I've yet to see anyone really who, once I get to know people, transcend that, because I've noticed that, especially in the Activision work, a lot of the people is through going through so much self-hatred, destruction of family, wealth, whatever it might be, that a snap happens where they want to make a change, but they've really gone through so much years of self-loathing. Unfortunately, I see it quite a lot. And then these are the people who seem to be can really rev up the crowds when they're doing their stuff. Because and just being honest, right? I'm in so many circles, and then
to highlight.
Yeah, and when the TV's turned off, or when the mic is turned off, those same people, I see the pain or the mismanagement of their mind come out, and I'm there to go, okay, let's have a conversation. But I realize that you're very good because you're paying to get people like motivated, but actually you need work, right? Like you actually have a tremendous amount of self-hatred. And how do I know? It's because how it comes out. Now we try to stop them from coming out before we turn the cameras off, and I might be successful here and there, turn the cameras off. But in some of these elements here, the camera is on as they're spewing their self-hatred. And there's no way you can tell me that what we're seeing here isn't connected to some form of self-hatred.
Trauma.
Yeah, trauma, you see. And I'm saying that I'm removing the offensive of Jamaicans being called out and Caribbean being called out and British black being called out, whatever, and go, you know what? There was a history where these people were synchronized in some way. Let us find out what has happened to make them unsynchronized and have a solution. Yeah. And this is the hardest thing I reckon most people can do, because all they're hearing is he said black this, or he said black booty scratcher, or he said British people are this, or African Americans are this. I'm okay. That's
everyone, yeah.
And this technique is what I've been doing behind the scenes in the UK when it comes to a lot of the brothers who debate, and they have a history of trauma towards other people. And at the time of them saying something, it was almost impossible to mend the men. But through the conversation,
what's already come out.
Yeah, but through the conversations, we see actually the only reason I said that you're this is because you said that we were that. And
it's that. Yeah.
You see,
100%.
Literally
100%. That's what I was thinking in my head, because I know you're not thinking that it's going to be some big old story at the end of it. You know, it's going to be a matter of, when you strip it back, you know, it's going to be he hurt me or she hurt me. You know, it's going to be that.
I don't want to bring up names, but some of the greatest, and maybe if I'm being honest, unfortunately, what this generation never took from the Francis Kesswellskins and the Neely Fullers and the Claude Andersons and the Khalid Mohammeds and the Malcolm X's and that generation, right, is that kind of like self-control, of how to be disciplined and have decorum and have dignity. And I won't say any names, but I've seen a lot of the public speakers who are most famous. You say something about their face, or about their shoes, or about their house,
they've lost it.
And they've lost it. I mean, and all the like they will make comments on your skin tone. They'll make comments on your shoe size. They'll
so they'll go right against everything they've probably been preaching 5 minutes before.
And I automatically forgive them because they show me their trauma, and they show me that even though they've picked up the wisdom from the ancient, from the ancestors and from the elders, they haven't picked up that discipline. You see?
Yeah, well, we're all working projects, isn't it?
And that's why I would like to, if this conversation comes up and there are brothers and sisters who have that kind of mindset, I invite them for us to really find a solution. So rather than just discrediting people because of things they've said, we find out the source of it and find out the solution for next time it happens. And that's how I like to.
I hear you. I'll probably make sure I stay in the chats then.
There you go. Well, sister, you're always informed.
I know. I hear you, and you got to give thanks for a brother like you, because I just 100% get where you're coming from, right? And I know you understand where I'm coming from.
Of course.
And I, even when you was talking, like, I had to just, I really had to deep what you were saying, and I overs what you were saying. Even with Tariq Nasheed, it's like, he got asked, and then I did catch one time, I saw a clip of where he said that it just stems from he wanted to build, because he was about it, as you said, and he went to Africa to try and build, and they just wouldn't give him the not sponsorship, but the citizenship or the licensing that he wanted in order to do what he wanted to do at the time. And so he was frustrated at that, and then now it's, You know, these people, they don't help us. Why should we help them? Black Americans, we should need to stand on our own. We're not, you know, we're not wanted. They're not helping us anywhere. You know, even when you go back home, and it's just, you just kind of think now, if he still, you know, like everything has like a can, everyone can just contain so much. If his can was a bit more bigger like yours, and he contained a bit more understanding, he could have then adapted that same understanding that you've afforded to him, brother Raven, to those people who did that to him, right? And with all of his knowledge and his actual history and knowledge that he literally has, because he's done those documentaries, he would have overs that looked at it not as a personal point, but looked at it as a POV, and overs the situation and being like, well, they're colonized or they're affected, or do you understand? Then to just target on everyone else. Do you see it, bro?
This is why
and then you have that understanding, which, you know, I've got love for you for that, and I know that we need that, and we need more brothers like that to have that standing and to make sure that we have that for each other. I'm the kind of person that's just like, well, you should have known better. Like, for you to have done all of this damage, for the excuse after that to be like, well, those Africans didn't let me build. That just that gets me vexed, bro.
Hold on. Let me say this before you say that. Because I'm more aware of certain nuances of the arguments, right? Because I've been put in debates about and stuff, right? So I'm aware there's a lot going on, but it is more than just he wanted to go to Africa and build and he didn't. It's like, because I think people like him, and there's many others, they'll do things like, I am talking about people I don't like in Africa, right? I'm not talking about Africans, and that's what they stand on, right? As in, you know, at the time,
He
I think
never made that clear, though, bro.
No, he really has. He really has through the words he said. Whether his actions are a different thing, but the words he said, as in that's what he pushed across. But either way,
but bro, I've heard the same words from him, and they've not been like that.
Well, here's what it is, right? I see the same attitude in him that I see in a lot of the guys who go to Speaker's Corner, as in like a very slapdash attitude towards things, right? A very what's that word? What is it where people not on the spectrum, but they're very like they're tend like they get very easily frustrated. Like if you ring them and talk to them and you're not fast, they get really like hurry up, get like that kind of stuff, right? And he seems to display that when I've seen him speak. But I don't know his background for. But what I do know is he's someone who doesn't have the makeup of someone who does community work, but has excelled at it really well and has done a very good job in areas he is not skilled in. He's not skilled in documentary making or history at all. He has no history in it. He has no training in it, but he's made some more successful. This has to be applauded.
It's true, because that's what they said, that what he was good at was collecting a bunch of historians to tell the story.
Even that, he made sure he got just black historians. He got some of the best who passed away, unfortunately, like Franz Cresswellskin and this kind of stuff. And he did put
he's given that to us. We've got that will go on.
So I'm saying that something has happened, right? Yeah, and it's like, unpacking that is a case study that's going to have a greater solution to these issues. And what I'm saying is, what the worst thing I reckon anyone could do is have a domino effect to a domino effect. You see, it's like, you know, it's like
I'm looking forward to it, bro.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna tap into it, and maybe I will come in to ask questions, you know, but I won't. I don't want to offend, you know, because I think, you know, even now us talking over it and you opening to have the back and forth, and I can push back and just give you from my perspective, because my perspective is not a solo perspective, bro.
Of course not.
Like, my perspective is a lot of what people think of Tariq Nasheed at this point.
Yeah.
So, but for you, and you know that, you know, how I stand on things. So even for you to be able to make me be like, because before I was like, oh God, no. But now I'm just like, okay, because as you said, even though, as we get there, I'll ask you questions on it, because I still want to get to the point of, you know, like you said, you think it's a bit more, but when it comes strips it down, it's going to be something like hurt feelings, isn't it?
Well, look, let's break it down.
Okay, that's that one part. Hold on, that's that one part. But I am intrigued, and like you said, that because I'm like, okay, he could just be a drifter, but there is something to say that you spent a lot of years like kind of doing that in that way of, like you said, doing the documentaries. But I'd be intrigued to know if he actually did any community work. I did hear that he supported Dr. Cress.
Yeah, he paid for a
funeral. Yeah. So it will be
he's done a
interesting.
reparation mask. He's done children's books. He's done the history museum that people get paid to do. It's still running. He's done a lot.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, I'm interested to see how you're gonna.
But like I said, he's had this. Him and brother Umar Johnson, and even I forgot some of the other brothers as well. They all have good works they've done, but once again, they don't have the discipline at all, the self kind of open worth or whatever it is that we see in the Francis Cress Wilson or a Neely Fuller or a Claude Anderson. They have none of it, but they have the knowledge, but none of the decorum of the discipline, right?
And at the same time, no one's perfect. No one is perfect, and I do want to get that I need to just keep reiterating that, because I think we're so used to criticizing that there's no space. And I think with Tarek, you'd never would have heard me criticize him, even whatever because he's done some dodgy stuff on the side anyways, all throughout him doing the good stuff, right? It's been in parallel. So, but I never really, because of the good, we've all got our vices, we've all got our sides to us that we need to improve on, right? So who am I? But I think the point where it starts for me, when I will talk up against it, is when you start doing stuff that has a negative effect to all of us in the community. And I do believe what he does, and from the amount of stuff that you can just get on him, it's just pure putting down Caribbeans, Africans, Black UK, everyone and anything. I think that at that point I think it is right to say, you know what, I'm not feeling that. Because
I want to be a person to have a non-trigger conversation with these arguments, right? Because here's the truth is, a lot of the things I'm hearing coming from the African American community about these topics, I 1000% agree with, I without question. Where I disagree, and I've always disagreed, and it's on paper that I would disagree, is the approach. If you're going to talk about gatekeeping, I agree. And if you're going to gatekeep because you're going to have colonized minds try to take your intellectual property and then this invite you from it, which we see them happening with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Black people not being allowed to enter. It's okay, how that work, right? So I agree with the strategy, right? But what I'm saying is, just like I use the term glad African and sad African, right? When it comes to this separating African people who are constructive and work to progress Black people, and then African people who actually sold Black people. The glad and the sad, right? And I'm saying, have your ways to delineate, but what we don't want to make sure that we have negative derogative terms to group of people together, and make sure that we clearly define the good and the bad, right? And that's a conversation I would like to have when it comes to how to find that middle ground of unity when it comes to
we need it.
And like I said, if it's just me talking about
fundamentally we need to get to.
I've never not got to the end and a successful conversation when it's just me talking to a disgruntled whoever, right? Because I'm leading with unity as the core.
Exactly.
Right. And whether you make fun of Black British people, Black Afro-Caribbeans, to which I belong to those groups, I will not be offended, because I understand the greater good, and I understand that I am part of the domino effect. So I need to go back to that first domino and go, what did they say about your shoes? Or what did they say about your country? Or what did they say about you? And then
you're asking a lot there, bro. You're asking everyone to have that kind of discipline.
But what I'm saying is, this is the learning, because if we can have that kind of discipline of what actually got us here, because we go, okay, now that you've said that, let's acknowledge that was wrong. Shall we now today try to spread the word that we don't do this? Yeah, we don't do this anymore because it has this negative effect, isn't it? So you're trying to achieve this. So, for example, before we go, because we are going over, African Americans are saying that certain people are coming to America and undermining claims for reparations. So one of the first things we can say is like, well, you know what? I support your claim for reparations. It's very inspirational, and I know I won't get anything from it. Yeah. So I support it. So having that narrative is a better narrative than having, but your country, you don't even like look how long you've been there, you've achieved nothing, right? But like regardless of what people are saying, I support you in it. Regardless of what you're saying, your brother in the struggle. That's a better conversation to have rather than why can't we get reparations? You shouldn't get reparations. But if you want reparations, we should get. That's not how you start a conversation, right? It makes no sense, right? And that that kind of that triggers and fuels that kind of animosity. And I've been in many debates in the past where I'm trying to let the brothers know, do not approach it from a conflict standpoint where it's like, and I'm going to end by saying this. When I was in Speaker's Corner, there was a Nigerian brother and a Somali brother arguing. As soon as they're arguing, these guys, as far as I'm concerned, were allies 2 days before. But as soon as it came out, there was all this like, but your country is a country of this, and your country doesn't have that. Does your country even have those? How many people in your country even wear that kind of stuff, right? And before they were just going back and forth. And I had to make sure the camera was off. And I told them this, I said, listen, you're going to make up tomorrow, but you're going to leave that out there for years of Nigerians and Somali fights, and then all the anti people are going to take that as their banner. So you see. But you're going to be friends the next day. The next day, you're going to be eating Ijira and jollof or whatever it's together. And you've made these videos of making fun of each other's ethnic groups, nations, clothing, languages, because he said that you had a big forehead or whatever. So it's like, all that kind of stuff. So
anyway, we give thanks for you, bro. I think having a discussion in that frame is very much needed and definitely not happening. So
I'm trying to find to find the method of how to do that, right?
Yeah.
And you guys can assist me on that, because the hardest thing to do, and this is very hard, even though there's inter-ethnic conflicts, think about what is the greater
unity.
What can do it. And sometimes it means that one ethnic group has to be quiet a bit longer so others can speak.
Absolutely.
You know what I say as well? Sorry to cut you. Making self-control something fun and celebrated.
Yes.
We got to market.
The problem though, bro, I don't think, I think it's so I think that's something that has been forgotten, but it's not disappeared. Do you understand? I mean that to say that if you ask any like sistering of like our leaders, the first people they're swooning over are the type of leaders who constantly displayed discipline.
Let me add this before we go, right? This is very important, yeah? We have to remember that we're now in the age of the internet and the algorithm, and a lot of this stuff, unfortunately, might be motivated by rage bait and clickbait, you see?
Exactly.
As in, if you make a video saying that people from Nigeria are slow, you'll probably get more clicks than saying people from Nigeria are fast, you see? You see what I'm saying? So, or even that might even get more rage bait as well. Who knows, right? So that's what I'm saying. As in, like, family. But it is a very important topic that we're gonna tackle. And maybe it might be next week, the week after. How to fix inter-ethnic kind of squabbles, and I would like to lead that. And I would ask you that respect the method I'm going to apply, because I want the conversation to go from A to B to C without going, but what about this? And I feel sad.
Well, you have to ask us to do that, because we're constantly holding the discipline line over here.
Of course.
You know what?
Into Modicod also.
Of course.
I will say that the strategy should be that sometimes someone's got to be the bigger brother, and sometimes someone's got to be the little brother.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to the African diaspora, I do believe that the brothers and sisters on the continent has to be the bigger brother and sister when it comes to how we've been exploited.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It should be automatically, you know what? There was some unsynchronization and things backfired. Neither one of us prospered, because even our brothers and sisters on the continent, they didn't even benefit from the enslavement anyway. So someone has to be the bigger brother. Now, when it comes to being the little brother, sometimes those in the diaspora has to be the little brother, sometimes little sister, in listening. You know what I mean? If we can do the big brother, little brother strategy, then that can definitely work, man.
And I'd like to add on top of what Brother Kelson, I agree with that, bro. And I also agree with your first point about the discipline as well. I think highlighting and what favorable behavior is probably better than saying don't do that or don't do this and don't do that, you know. So I think highlighting favorable behavior would be a better element. So highlighting discipline, and as I said, or saying that, like, you know, the other leaders that you know, when we're saying that discipline is not wanted or glorified, I don't think it's that, you know. I think that the love for a man who shows discipline and things like that are still there, but I don't think that that gets displayed because we don't get to see much of that displayed, so therefore you don't see the reaction that brings, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
And so I think that just highlighting that, actually, if you, as I've always said before, as I used to say a lot of the times in the beginning when we used to come on, when the black man, and also obviously the black woman, but in this instant, when the black man realizes his power and steps into that, I think that the reaction that it gets will be its evidence on its own. Do you understand? So highlighting that and highlighting the benefits of being that way. And I also think that, like, the big brother and the little sister, and like cultivating like a family, big brother and younger brother, and cultivating a family vibe is a brilliant idea, because I think it gives everybody a responsibility within the family, right? So yes, understanding where the genesis comes from, but then understanding and we in that point all have to take the responsibility for that, because I do think our brothers in America have taken a lot of the fight of the charge on. So if they are falling short right here, we have no choice but to be understanding on it and not take offense, as Brother Raven has said, and then look at it holistically as a family, as Brother Cal said, right? But within that as well is, I just want also that it needs to be understood that we all need to be courteous to each other. So yes, we can understand where it comes from, but moving forward, the correct language for all of us should be, and then obviously it stems from the main thing that we're coming from, which is unity, you know? So it's not that, okay, every time you hear this coming from, we always got to turn a side eye. No, you're going to understand where it comes from, but, you know, younger brother, you need to understand as well, or middle brother or whatever, because the UKs could be the younger ones, we could be the younger ones, right? And they could be the middle in this scenario. But we could just say to them that, look, we can take a side eye, we get where the hurt from, but also going forward, we're not going to take no more of that either, right? We're all going to start looking, having a bit of responsibility in the way we relate to each other, because the current climate in the world right now is that we already got us. Do you understand? If at any time, that's why I said at any time right now is a very critical time. So centering the unity, the message, centering the family aspect is really important as well.
Yeah. So what we've got the 4D values on the screen: discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. And before we go, you know, one of the methods I will be asking is, like, you know, you've said this about this group. Why have you said that? And then the response will be, because they said this. And then we go, why have you said that? And then you're going to go back and back and back, and then we're going to find out, regardless of how you feel about it, like, why have you said this? And then it's going to say, we were trying to get this done, and a lot of them sabotage by doing that. Okay, so let's talk, like, how do we feel as a community about this thing? How do we feel about this claim or this word, and how can we make it? So we're going to really unpack it, right? And that's an important process, because then we're going to realize, once again, it's just down to feelings and name calling. But family, we've had the 12:30, so we've gone half an hour past. Any last word from Brother Kel and Sister Kush?
No, just a good show.
Sure.
Well, we might cover that next week, maybe. Inter-ethnic squabbles and stuff. It's very triggering. But it's something I've wanted to do because, you know, blah, 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 blah. But if everyone, Black Betterment, to all Black Betterment to all, and see you guys next week, we might be covering that. So I hope you have a fantastic weekend. There you go.
You too, brother. Black Betterment.
Black
Some
Betterment.
people, Black Betterment.
Black Betterment.